complaints of our pensioners, and we take complaint resolution very seriously. You may recall our launch of the I Am Alive confirmation solution in October of 2021 at our respective stakeholder fora of 2021. It is important that I emphasize that Ptad is yet to commence the deployment of the I Am Alive solution nationwide. All pensioners will be duly notified when the exercise would commence nationwide. We have just concluded a training session for pension desk officers and pension union executives from the Northeast, North Central, and Northwest zones, which happens to be your zone. And I'm sure that maybe some of you that participated in that training session might be here today. And this was to train them on how to use this solution. This will be of immense benefit to pensioners who either do not have smartphones, live in remote rural areas where there's no internet access, or are not literate enough to avail themselves of this solution. The pension union executives and the pension desk officers who will act as our focal persons are going to be our partners in the seamless implementation of this solution. May I also use this opportunity to continue to sensitize our pensioners against patronizing pension fraudsters. No staff of Ptad will call or send any message to you requesting for payment or ask you to call a certain phone number before your arrears or gratuity will be paid. Once you get such messages, you should know that Ptad did not send them and will never do so. Kindly disseminate this important information to your members so that they will not fall victim to these fraudsters. But before I end, I want to just do a small roll call. Who are the pensioners from Benue State here? Could you raise your hands, please? Only two? 3? 4 from Benue. 5. Kogi? 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 from Kogi? 5. Kwara? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 as well. Nasarawa? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Niger? Okay. Plateau? Ah, this is not fair now. No, this is very unfair and very inequitable. You know, Ptad stands for fairness, Ptad stands for equity. And I keep saying the reason for the stakeholder engagement is to be able to cascade what we're doing down to the grassroots and to also bring up your problems to us. So if we don't have a representative sample, 9 chances out of 10, we will not be able to achieve our objective. So who are the civil service pensioners here? Nobody. How many? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Sit down. Who are the parastatal pensioners here? Okay. You seem to be in the majority. Who are the police pensioners here? Customs, immigration, and prisons? You're here. By the way, who are the federal civil service pensioners here? You are here. The ones we are owing 9 months arrears and gratuity. Eh? You are here, right? Okay. I hope you're well represented when the time comes. So let me once again welcome you to this engagement and pray that we have a fruitful deliberation. God bless our pensioners, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Please, let's give her another rousing round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the Executive Secretary, Ptad, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme. And her speech has definitely given every one of us here an idea of what today's program is going to be like. It is going to be very interactive, very engaging as well. There are different times where you can ask questions. If you don't have the opportunity to get the microphone to ask a question, please write it down, write your name, and write your telephone number so that we can respond to your question at any time, even after this event. Would like to also specially recognize the Zonal Chairman, NUP ASU North Central, and his secretary. Please be upstanding for recognition, please. A round of applause. Let's welcome them. You're welcome, sirs. Let's also welcome the APON Chairman, AIG Ayewumi. I hope I got that right. Please be upstanding for recognition, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much for being in today's event. Now, the Executive Secretary rightly pointed out what has been going on for the last couple of years. Ptad is determined to change the narrative of pensioners under the defined benefit scheme. But what is this new narrative that we're talking about? Would like for you to follow us on this journey. Let's welcome the Director, Pensioner Support Services Department, Mrs. Nneka Obiamalu, as she makes this presentation. Please, a round of applause.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Transition and Arrangement Directorate, please permit me to stand on the established protocol. Good morning to our dear and esteemed pensioners. ES always tells a story, so today I have my own little story to tell. I'm not as eloquent as she is, but Jos is the town that I grew up. So today, or rather yesterday, was the first time I had been back in Jos in almost 15 years. But I went to secondary school here, and I went to university here. And I am a child of NIPS, Kuru. That's where my mother worked as a civil servant. So it's a pleasure to be home. For about 25 years, Jos was my home before I got married and moved to Lagos. So it's really a pleasure for me to be here in Jos. And Jos has changed so much. Coming from the airport, I found it amazing. I couldn't even, recognize so many places because the town has really changed a lot. So it's my intense pleasure to be here and to make this presentation on behalf of the Pension Transition Arrangement Directorate and to be among people I consider to be my family. I'm going to start by making a very categorical statement. And I'm taking from the speech that our ES just made. Pension administration under the defined benefit scheme has changed, and it has changed forever. And today, I am going to show you how drastically it has changed and all the work that Ptad has put in over the last 9 years to change the way the DBS is viewed by the public. By the time I get to the end of this presentation, what I'm hoping, and I know this is the hope of all of my colleagues and the management of Ptad, is that going forward, we will not be talking about the past anymore. We will not be talking about all those things that happened in the past. We shall be talking about the present, and we're talking about the future. What we have gained, and how we are going to sustain those gains. For those of you that are from the media, it's very important that you also recognize that this change has taken place, so that we stop showing pictures of federal pensioners looking as if they have been abandoned. That is no longer the case. That is no longer the case, and I'm going to show you that it is no longer the case. I also want to make a distinction. I'm talking about pensioners that are managed by the federal government of Nigeria under the defined benefit scheme. I'm not talking about state pensioners. I'm not talking about local government pensioners. I'm not even talking about pensioners under the contributory scheme. I am talking only about federal pensioners, and even those that are collecting federal pension at the state, from the state pensioners that are collecting pension at the federal level. All those pensioners managed and paid by the federal government of Nigeria under defined benefit scheme and under Ptad. So that distinction must be made. And I challenge the press also to make that distinction going forward. And when we're talking about the changed narrative of pension management in Nigeria, we're talking about how it has changed in the management of pensioners under the defined benefit scheme. Okay, sorry. Okay, so let me get started. I'm taking you on a journey, and I hope you will go with me along the way. So let's start from the beginning. Prior to the establishment of Ptad, the old pension scheme had a very bad reputation. Government was dealing with all sorts of allegations of misappropriation, maladministration, theft of pension funds. There were public hearings, there were criminal proceedings. I'm sure you all remember those times. You also remember the times when pensioners were suffering to get their pensions. There were stories about pensioners sleeping at pension offices in order for them to get their pensions. There were stories of pensioners who did not even receive their pension and had even given up because they had tried and tried and tried and they were not successful. Am I correct? There were also NOKs. I came across an NOK who had been struggling to get, this is the next of kin, struggling to get the death benefits of their deceased father for 15 years without success. There were many cases like that. Even the verification. My mother is a pensioner under parastatal pensions. And I remember her going for verification and struggling and suffering to just register herself and make sure that she can be on the payroll to continue to receive her pension. It was difficult, it was tedious, it was stressful for our senior citizens. People who had served Nigeria, who we sing about when we talk about it in our national anthem as our heroes past, isn't it? But yet they were suffering to get their pensioners, they were suffering in verification, they were suffering in so many different ways. I pulled up some newspaper articles from 2010, 2011, and 2012, just talking about, reflecting on what was transpiring at that time. You can see the Punch newspaper has a story about the chairman of the PRTT being wanted for pension scam. Daily Trust also talks about a pension scam. That publication is from June 2012. There's a publication from December 2010 talking about pensioners evading the head of service because they had not received their benefits. I'm sure you all remember this. Okay. It was against all of this that pension reform came about and Ptad was established. Established to consolidate the pension offices for pensioners who were not going to transit to the contributory scheme. So Ptad actually had a complex job to do because they had to bring all these pension offices under one umbrella and then now try to manage them and take ownership of the reform so that we could tell a new story about pension. What were the challenges that we had when we first started? 2014, 2015. One of the biggest challenges that Ptad had is that we did not have information on our pensioners. We had payrolls in some instances, but we did not know who our pensioners were. If a pensioner walked in and had a complaint in 2014 or early 2015, we didn't have employment records to refer to in order to resolve their complaint. If we wanted to contact a pensioner for one reason or the other, we didn't have contact details. We could not contact a pensioner. So that was the biggest challenge that we had. In civil service pension, specifically, we didn't even have a comprehensive payroll. ES has talked about this before. The payrolls that we did have had duplicate names, duplicate account numbers on it. So those payrolls had to be cleaned up. We had over 50,000 complaints that we had inherited from the head of service, just for civil service alone. I remember coming to Ptad in 2015 and seeing a mountain of paper complaints that we were supposed to resolve as we just resumed office. And there were thousands, over 30,000 pensioners complaining that they were not on payroll and they had not received their pension. Are you in agreement with me? What I'm speaking is fact. And I'm showing you the evidence as well as we go along. Pensioners also had a problem with just getting their complaints resolved. Where do you go? Was there an office you could go that accommodated you, that you could sit down, have a one-on-one conversation with somebody in private about your pension matter, which is a private matter to you, and then that person would take it up and resolve it? That did not exist. So there were a lot of challenges when we first started. In addition to these ones, we had liabilities, unfunded liabilities. In 2014, the 33% arrears that had been approved in 2010, was it paid? It had not been paid yet. 33% arrears that had been approved 4 years earlier had not been paid. Steel rolling mills that had been approved to be put on the payroll in 2011, as at July, was it June or 2014? That was when Ptad now started putting those pensioners on payroll. They had not been put on payroll and were still out in the cold trying to get their pension paid. The computation of pensions was something that was very manual. And because it was a manual process, it was prone to mistakes. So, and that was why pensioners were saying that they had so many complaints of short payment and this and that, because we were using a manual process to calculate pensions, and so mistakes were being made. I've talked about the office space, but Ptad needed to get an office space so as to have a home for the pensioners under the DBS. We needed to equip that office. We needed to make sure that we had the appropriate work tools to administer those pensions. We also had a challenge with pensioners' files, because we needed pensioners' departmental files in order to resolve complaints and in order to calculate pensioners' benefits. So I will show you later on some of the challenges we had with those pensioner files. Another real serious problem that we have, and it still exists to an extent today, is that pensioners were very rude and very unruly towards us. And we recognize that there was a lack of trust. Pensioners had not been treated very well in the past, and so they probably didn't believe that Ptad had good intentions. But despite our efforts to respect the dignity of our pensioners, many of our staff received very sort of, in fact, they were assaulted. There was a time when our director, Customs Immigration, was assaulted by a pensioner in Owerri. Our staff were being assaulted by pensioners. That was one of the challenges that we had when we first started. Then, of course, we had the challenge now of consolidating all the pension offices. Police pension, they had given us a payroll with 18,370 pensioners. Customs and Immigration had 12,203. For civil service, we had an estimate. The estimate was given to us as 129,999 pensioners. The Treasury-funded parastatals had 108, 325 pensioners from 276 government agencies that they had to onboard and consolidate onto the payroll. We needed to look at those payrolls critically to make sure they were not duplicate accounts, duplicate names, so there was due diligence that was required on the payrolls. We need them to then onboard all of them onto the Ptad payroll, and then we need to calculate the liability so that we could get budget approval to make sure that we could settle those liabilities. So these were some of the challenges that Ptad faced right at the beginning. I think it's important that pensioners see what it was that we were facing in 2013, 2014, and 2015 when we first started. It will help you understand, one, how much work and effort has been put through since that time to now, and just how difficult it was also for Ptad to address these issues. And that may explain also why it may seem at times that Ptad is not moving fast enough. It's not because we lack the capacity or ability to, but the mountain of things that needed to be resolved was one that we had to take it one by one in order to do it well and do it carefully. This is an example of some of the liabilities we had back in 2014. The state with federal share, many of them that had retired after 2002 were not on the payroll. They needed to be put on the payroll and paid their pension arrears. Steel rolling mills that I was just talking about, Oshobo, Katsina, and Jos, they were owed pension arrears from 2011 when they got their approval to when they were put on the payroll by Ptad. There was the 33% arrears that was due across all the different pension departments, CPID, PPD, PAPD. CPID also had monthly pension and gratuity due to pardoned officers, and they had death benefits due to NOKs. PPD also had death benefits due to NOKs, and then pension and gratuity to war-affected officers. And then, of course, the parastatals had monetization and harmonization areas that they needed to be dealt with. So this was the volume of liabilities that we're looking at the inception of Ptad. So what did we do? And how far have we come? I think that it is, I'm not even going to say it is fair. It's a bold statement, it's a caricature statement, it's fact. We have sorted out all those things I just talked about. All those challenges. We have removed the dark cloud that was hovering over the DBS. And we have settled these issues. And how have we done that? This is the journey I'm going to take you through now, to tell you how we address those challenges, the things that we have done that has changed the narrative, and where we are today. So the first thing is in the management of pension files. I'm going to show you what Ptad has done in order to secure and archive pensioners' files. The verification of pensioners, all of you have been through the verification process, so I'll talk a little bit about that verification process. How do we calculate pensions? How have we dealt with the issues of manual process to make it more automated, make it more transparent, and to make it fraud-free? What payments, what liabilities have we settled? I'm going to tell you about those liabilities. What are we doing with monthly pension? You all know, and I know you will all agree, that since the inception of Ptad, Ptad has paid monthly pension every single month without a break. And then, how are we resolving pensioners' complaints? What process have we put in place, and how is that being taken? So let's start with pensioners' files. These were the pensioners' files at the head of service. This was where we went to pick civil service personnel files. Can you see it? We went in there with gloves and masks, but we had to go in there and pick those files one by one. And as we were picking those files, some of them would just be breaking in our hand. And we'll be struggling to make sure we keep it together because we knew there was important information that we needed there. This is the office where the files were kept at the head of service. This picture actually shows after we had packed them inside the bags in order to remove them from the head of service. These are police pensioner files at the police training college in Ikeja that Ptad had to go and collect in order to resolve police pensioners' complaints and the claims of death benefits from NOKs. We had to sort through to try to salvage what we could in order to get the information that we needed. And what have we now done with all of those files? This is what we have done. We have repackaged all of them, reorganized them, we have logged them, and we have archived them. So and I want to make a very clear statement here, because I don't want pensioners to now believe that every file is here. If Ptad has your file, we have archived it, and we have access to it. And if you come and you have a complaint, a lot of it is digitized. If it's not digitized, we can go to our archive and we can pick your file. We even have, we have a staff who has a record book there, and we have created a system whereby we can track the retrieval and the return of pensioners' files. So that's the work that we have done, and it was not easy work. You have to acknowledge that it was not easy work. Thank you. So what about pensioner verification? We heard the stories of pensioner verification when we started working in Ptad. How sometimes verification may only be held in one place, and all the pensioners will have to gather there. And that the process would be long because there were so many pensioners. It would be stressful, it would be tedious. There would be no facilities provided. You were not provided with any refreshments. Am I speaking the truth? There were no conveniences, no refreshments, but even more important, no database was created. Do you understand what I'm saying? No better database was created. So you went for verification, it was I'm alive verification. Because we did not actually create a usable, reliable, and comprehensive database until Ptad. Until Ptad. So Ptad created a field verification process whereby if we went out for verification, we'd have multiple centers. We created a simple process. Some of you may remember it. You do your document review, then you go for verifier, quality scanning and digitization, quality assurance, and then you go home. You collect your slip. We always try to make sure we put it in a conducive environment, either an event center or a hall, where there were sufficient chairs and tables, there was enough air, and pensioners were comfortable. We provided refreshments. Am I right? Yes. We provided refreshments, water, and a meal for our pensioners. We had wheelchairs available, and in many cases, we had a standby ambulance or at least a first aid because we recognized that we were dealing with our senior citizens. That is how Ptad has done verification. Correct? Yes. And that is different from the past. Very different from the past. So let me show you some pictures of verification done by Ptad. This is the Okshobo Verification Center before you came in, when it had been set up in the hall in Oshogbo, and you can see how organized it is. Very clear process line. This is verification here in Jos. I think some of you must have attended this verification. This is verification in Lokoja in Kogi, and then verification in Calabar. That verification in Calabar, it was a Customs, Immigration, and Prisons verification in Calabar, where they are doing this document screening outside before you went inside the hall to do your verification. Mop-up verification in Umuahia in Abia State. You see a pensioner using Ptad wheelchair in order to be verified. Pensioner verification in Abuja. I think this was either civil service or parastatal. In Benin, parastatal verification in Benin. Pensioners enjoying refreshments in Benin during the verification. This is a pensioner being assisted by Ptad staff. Ptad staff are the ones wearing the green and blue t-shirts. They're assisting a pensioner in Port Harcourt. I think this was police pension verification in 2014. This is an ambulance outside the verification center in Mina. I think it was parastatal pensioners. So I've shown you the evidence. Many of you were part of it. So you know that verification has changed. And you know that at least that narrative, when ES says it and I have now reiterated it, that the narrative has changed, this is the evidence. And the newspapers even reported it, that you congratulated Ptad on an excellent verification exercise. Okay. So, Ptad also introduced something that was completely new and novel. It had never, ever happened before in the past. And that was mobile verification. The management recognized that there were going to be pensioners who could not come to the field, either because they were too old, or they were too sick, or they were physically challenged in one way or the other. So we set up mobile teams to go and visit pensioners in their homes, in hospitals, wherever they were, in order to verify them. Today, I can tell you with all certainty that Ptad staff, Ptad mobile teams, have visited over 80 different cities, towns, villages, and countless hospitals all over Nigeria. And in some places, they've been there twice, 3 times. This is mobile verification in a hospital in Gombe. I think 2015 or 2017. Mobile verification, the team went to the hospital to meet the pensioner. In a pensioner's home, the pensioner could not leave his bed. The team is beside his bed doing his verification. That's Ptad staff. That's one of our assistant directors doing mobile verification in a village in Cross River State. That's our director of corporate services. This is how far Ptad staff have gone, crossing rivers and creeks in canoes to find our pensioners in order to verify them. We waded through all sorts of circumstances in order to get to pensioners so that they will be put on the payroll and receive the benefits that they were entitled to. I think Ptad staff should be given another round of applause for this kind of work. For this kind of work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. This is a list of all the towns and cities that Ptad staff have visited in order to do verification. And this list is only the list of those the teams that left from Abuja to go and do mobile verification. It does not include the ones that will go for field verification and do mobile verification. You know, when we used to do field verification, we'll also do mobile verification. This is only from Ptad office across Nigeria in order to capture our pensioners who could not attend field verification. I highlighted the capital cities, but you can see all the other towns that we have been to in order to capture our pensioners. So, as a result, and I'm going to keep emphasizing this, verification served a very specific purpose. We wanted to build a database, a credible and comprehensive database of our pensioners. That database has our pensioners' pictures, it has their personal information, and it has their career records. You will never be asked for those things again. You will never be asked for those things again. It is all inside the database. Right now, we have 241,897 pensioners verified and captured in our database. Parastatal has 100,127. Civil Service has 112,915. Customs Immigration has 12,338. And the police pensioners have 16,514 pensioners verified and captured and on the pensioner database with their career records and all their personal information. Now, if you remember right at the beginning when I was talking about the things that Ptad has done to change the narrative, I talked about the computation, how in the past computation was a manual process and how Ptad has had to address that. So what Ptad has done is that they have automated it. They have used technology in order to reduce manual intervention on your information. So once you're captured on the database and all your information is on the database, this system automatically calculates your monthly pension without any interference, any manual intervention. And that monthly pension that is captured is now transferred to the monthly pension payroll. It's also an automated process that does not involve any manual intervention. The payroll management system helps us to make sure that our payroll is updated. And once that payroll is approved by the executive secretary, it is uploaded onto the government-approved GFMIS platform for payment. Now, I'm going to just talk very briefly about the payment process because many pensioners don't understand the payment process. And even many of the press, too, are not even understanding it either. So let me just talk a little bit about that. Once the pension is prepared, the executive secretary expects to receive the pension payroll for each month by the 15th day of the month. Are you hearing me? By the 15th day of the month, the monthly pension payroll is ready. Once she approves it, it's uploaded onto the GFMIS payment platform. That's the Government Integrated Financial Management Information System. And that platform, that payment platform, is not managed by Ptad. Did you hear what I said? It is not managed by Ptad. It is managed by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. When money shows up on that platform, they finalize, Ptad will finalize the payment from Ptad office. We will finalize the payment, and the payment is made by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So when we say to you that we don't manage the actual payment process, we don't own any account, we don't keep any money with us, we just prepare the payroll, I hope it is now understood. So once we've prepared the payroll, it's uploaded onto the platform, the GFMIS platform, then with approval, the CBN pays. With money, sorry, with cash backing, it is paid by the CBN. This entire process is technology-driven, right? And because of that, sometimes everything doesn't go as planned. Sometimes everything doesn't go as planned. And then what we have is what we call a failed payment. And when a payment fails, Ptad has to wait for OAGF to inform Ptad that this payment has failed, you need to represent it. And sometimes that can take some time. So there have been reports of pensioners who will tell you, oh, you've been paid, and you say, I did not receive it. It's because the payment has failed. And we now have to wait for it to be formally informed to us so that we can represent it, so that we don't end up making two payments. The OAGS have to inform us, give us the details of all the failed payments, and then we represent it. And sometimes that process can take 2 weeks, it can take a month, it can take 2 months, it can even take 3 months. So that's why many times when you come and say, oh, I did not receive a payment, and we are telling you you received the payment, we tell you, give us your bank statement. For what? For us, that's evidence, because we have not gotten information from OAGF. So you give us the evidence, we can now go to our finance and accounts office to say, this pensioner did not receive the money. We know you paid it, but he did not receive it. Please, do what needs to be done to represent it. Do you understand? Please, educate your pensioners. Let them understand this payment process. So I also talked about the inherited liabilities and the payments that have been made. I wanted to just show you this. Since Ptad's inception, Ptad has paid 610.19 billion in pensions. And you can see the progression of the pension. But let's talk about some of the actual work that we have done since 2015. Here, I'm showing you the number of pensioners that have been reinstated to payroll. You know, I talked about complaints that we inherited. This is the resolution of those complaints. Customs Immigration has put 935 pensioners back on payroll. The Civil Service Pension Department has put 25,998 pensioners back to the payroll. These are pensioners that were left out and they were not receiving their pension. Police, 2,525, and then parastatal, 11,460. This is the evidence that Ptad is working. This is the evidence that Ptad is working, and this is the evidence that your complaints have been heard and they have been resolved. Do you agree? Pension arrears. CPID, the Customs, Immigration and Prisons Department, has paid pension arrears to 1,987 pensioners, spending 2.5 billion naira. The Civil Service has paid 66,596 pensioners their pension arrears since inception. And they have spent almost 30 billion in settling those arrears. This is the resolution of those complaints that we inherited. Police pension has settled pension arrears to 1,258, spending roughly 1 billion naira. And the Parastatal Pension Department has paid pension arrears to 91,281 pensioners, spending 6.7 billion naira. I'll say it again. This is the evidence that Ptad is working. This is the evidence that Ptad has heard your complaints and has resolved your complaints. Am I speaking facts? Death benefits to NOKs. I talked earlier on about NOKs who had been left out in the cold for years. This is NOKs that have been paid. Customs, Immigration and Prisons, 177. You can see the amount, 289 million. Civil Service Pension, 809. Next of kin, 773 million. PPD, which is police pension, 709. They've paid 1 billion in benefits to the next of kin of deceased pensioners. And then parastatal, 2,137, spending 5 billion. It's important that I add, this is ongoing. We know that we have not settled everybody, but wanted to let you know how far so far. It's the continuous exercise. Both civil service, pension, and parastatals still have NOKs that they are treating, death benefit cases that they are treating currently. So as we go along, this figure will be changing over time. Police also is having 1 or 2 cases that are coming up that we're still treating. So that's how far we've come with the death benefits. So I talked about complaints resolution, and I talked about the fact that complaints resolution was difficult at the head of service. They really didn't have the capacity to deal with complaints. And when you hear the stories of pensioners camping outside pension offices or sleeping on the floor, in order to resolve it, then you also know that customer service was completely lacking as well in terms of dealing with complaints. So there wasn't an efficient tracking process, and pensioner complaints were not being resolved timely. And that's why we had so many complaints when we started in 2015. So what have we done about that? Well, we've created a complaints management system in Ptad, where pensioners who come with their complaints, we register your complaint on a system so that we can track the resolution of that complaint. And we have created different ways in which you can come and make your complaint. So you can walk into any of our contact centers, either at our head office or in any of our state offices. You can write a letter to the ES, and when you write a letter to the ES herself tracks that letter to make sure that it is resolved. You can call our call center. You can send an email. Our call center people also receive emails and answer them. On our website, you can fill out a complaint. And then now, more and more, we're getting pensioners who will just post a message on social media, either on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, and tell us, I have a complaint, and then we try to reach out to you and find a way to resolve that complaint. So we've created multiple channels in which you can get your complaint to us in Ptad for us to resolve your complaint. This is our contact center in Abuja. Those of you that have been there, you know it. I'm sure you recognize it. Sorry, excuse me. The whole idea was to create a conducive environment for our pensioners to be able to come, sit down, and have a one-on-one conversation with a staff of Ptad, who will then take up the complaint and make sure that it's resolved. This is our call center. I know that we have a lot of complaints that sometimes the phone is not picked up, but I want to point out something to you. We have 4 call center agents and the team lead there, who is also an agent. But we have 10 lines that come into the call center. So sometimes when you call, the phone rings and nobody picks it up is because the call agents are already busy. If we had 10 call agents for the 10 lines, chances are your call will always be picked up. But most times when you call, if nobody is answering, it's because the call agents are busy. This call center, the phones are constantly ringing. Pensioners are constantly calling, making inquiries, making their complaints. And it has been a journey. I think we deserve a round of applause for this, our call center. Because I don't believe there was a call center at the head of service prior to Ptad. Was there a call center? Did any of the other pension offices have call center? So you people should acknowledge what Ptad has done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We've opened 11 offices across the country in order to bring our pension service closer to our pensions. Yes, everything is not working perfectly, but we are working towards it, and we know we will get it right. No, we'll get it right. Let me assure you. And when you look at what we have done so far, you know that we'll get it right. So in 2015, Benin, Lagos, Enugu, and Kaduna was opened. 2016, Kano and Sokoto was opened. In 2018, we opened Yobe. Adamawa and Anambra were opened in 2019. 2022, that's this year, we've opened Oyo and we've opened Borno. Borno is fully equipped. It's already ready for use, but it's not yet operational. We have to assign some staff there for it to become fully operational. We're also working on opening an office, a state office in Uyo. We're just waiting for the allocation of the office at the Secretariat. And once that is done, you will be informed and Uyo pensioners will have an office. Sorry? When we have money. Okay. All right. I wanted to show you complaints that were received. These are the legacy complaints. So in the legacy complaints, we have about 24,000 complaints that we treated. That was in 2015. But now, the current complaints tracker that we use, so far 11,868 complaints have been processed. But this is what our complaints tracker looks like now. These are the complaints that we have inside the tracker that we are working on. I think I'm showing you this chart because I want you to see how the number of complaints, how they have been coming to Ptad. So in 2016, we had roughly 3,755 complaints registered. This is those ones registered in our complaints tracker. There are other complaints that maybe letters you have written to the ES that are not captured here. But these are the ones captured in our tracker. So you can see it went up in 2017 to about 4,525 before it started coming down. In 2020, it dropped down significantly, and I think it was probably mainly because of the COVID pandemic. We're not receiving pensioners because of the COVID restrictions. So the number of complaints went down. But 2021, you can see it's picked up. Interestingly, though, 2022, we're seeing a reduction in complaints. And I think it's mainly because of all the settlement of arrears and the enrollment of pensioners that we have been successfully been able to conclude because we have resolved the complaints. We know that there are still complaints, but for the most part, that mountain of complaints that we had in 2014 and 2015 have been dealt with. Do you agree? So the narrative has changed. We are no longer talking about the past and all those things that happened in the past. We're talking about the here and now, and we're talking about how Ptad has changed the way pension administration in the DBS is managed. We don't think that our success is just because of technology and luck. There are a number of things that have contributed to our success. The first one, of course, is the strong support and political will that we are receiving from this current administration and from this current president. That has been key to Ptad's success. And even the support from the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Budget Office of the Federation, the National Assembly, the Office of the Accountant General, all these agencies have supported Ptad in their work. And I want to mention them because I want you to acknowledge that Ptad's success is not one in which she stands alone. All these agencies and the presidency have made it possible. Ptad has been also very lucky. We've had very strong and strategic leadership at the helm of Ptad. And I want to take this moment to ask you all to acknowledge the ES Ptad. Because this woman has worked over the last 3 years to her bone in order to make sure that this thing that I'm talking about, that it's achieved. You need to acknowledge it. We've been lucky also because our ES Ptad has been able to effectively deploy the resources we've had available. She has invested in the human capital. Our staff have received training and the support that they need. Ptad staff are creative. They have initiative. They have passion. They are committed to helping pensioners. And they have empathy. So I want you all to recognize the work of the staff of Ptad in making all of this possible. Thank you. Finally, all of this would not have been possible without the support of you pensioners, without the support of our union representatives and our executives, your words of encouragement, your ideas, your collaboration with us. All those things have made it very possible for us to achieve what we have achieved. Okay, that's true. Okay, it's true. When I was talking about our support from the current administration and key stakeholders, I left out PENCOM, which was a big mistake on my part. Please forgive me. PENCOM is very key to a lot of the things that Ptad has achieved so far. But let me talk about the unions and the union executives, the pension desk officers, all the union representatives, and pensioners. We really do appreciate the fact that you honor our invitation when we ask you to come. We appreciate the text messages of support and encouragement that you give to us. We appreciate even the acknowledgement that you have put in the media to let people know what Ptad is doing. We acknowledge it and we appreciate it. And on behalf of the Executive Secretary, the management and the staff of Ptad, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nneka Obiamalo. Please, she deserves a very rousing round of applause. A very rousing round of applause. Standing ovation. Okay, the pensioners want to give you a standing ovation. Wow is all I can say. That was a very captivating story. From beginning till the end. Even I didn't know that this story had ended. They say seeing is believing. You will definitely agree with me that everything that you have seen from this presentation, from beginning till the end, is fact. And facts don't lie. Ptad continues to change the narrative. Change is inevitable. And that is our watchword at Ptad. We will continue to bring services closer to the pensioners in every way and any way possible. So far, as you heard from the presentation, we have 11 state offices already and more in the works. We continue to work very closely with relevant stakeholders as we bring services closer to our pensioners. Although she made mention of it, we're going to focus a lot more on what this pension fraud and fraudsters is all about. It's an expose, if you'd like, and would like for you to pay very close attention. It is very important to pay close attention to this next presentation because Ptad continues to be inundated by complaints and calls from pensioners that they have fallen prey to these unfortunate people. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome the Deputy Director of Ptad and Head of Monitoring and Compliance, Mr. Jibrin Idris, to make his presentation.
Good afternoon, the ES. With the permission, I will stand on existing, already established protocols. By the time I'm through with this brief presentation, you will know how fraudsters will attempt to attack you. You will know those things you will need to look out for. Perhaps you also know how to avoid them. And most importantly, you will know what to do if any attempt is made at trying you. Pension fraud is an act that involves the use of misrepresentation or deceit in connection with a pension claim. All sorts of tricks are used, mainly lies. Documents are forged to give a false impression of what is not. And the system is a target, and at times, you, the pensioner, are also the target. The focus of this presentation will mainly on the pensioner being the target. However, I will touch on some things that affect the system. Forgery of documents, it's rampant. Your career documents, your letter of first appointment, your letter of promotion as you progress in your career, your approval letter of retirement, your BVN slip, bank verification number, verification slip, your NIN slip, your bank statement, all these are documents that can be forged, everything forged, and a person will present to the directorate as a genuine pensioner. In some cases, it is a few of these documents that are forged, not the entire thing. They may be perhaps forged, the letter of first appointment, perhaps getting a genuine letter from a pensioner and alter the details on the documents. Even next of kin are not left out in this. We know for a next of kin entitlement payment, letter of administration from a court is required, and the deceased bank statement and death certificate. We've seen instances where these documents are forged. In some cases, it's just perhaps just the death certificate. The NOK will go and alter the date of death and take it to a future date to give room for additional claims. All this happens. Then the easiest and the commonest is impersonation. In this case, the documents are genuine. It could be a relation or someone that just stumbled on these documents. And he presents himself or herself claiming to be that pensioner. So it will need the diligence of the officer processing to discover that the person presenting is not a pensioner. Then there's this other one, duplication of claims. We observe for gratuity. You know, in the past, payment of gratuity were mainly done via checks. So we've seen people coming to claim that they have not been paid gratuity. When you check the bank statement they will provide, they will tell you the bank then has perhaps matched or doesn't exist. And they will claim they have not been paid gratuity. So extensive work needs to be done in collaboration with where the retiree left. In some cases, we now discover that those gratuities had been paid. Same thing for next of kin. We've had cases where a next of kin was paid by the MDA where the deceased left, and they are now coming to Ptad to lay the same claim. All these are areas where this kind of fraud happen. Then there's insider abuse. We have people within the system who either overlook all these exceptions they have seen, or in collaboration with them, either through negligence or deliberate acts, they now pass these documents for processing and for payment. Then scammers. This is real and very common now. They target you to get your pension or even monies you receive from relatives and well-wishers, or even your savings. So you need to know how these people operate to avoid them. How will you help the system to get these things? It is important that as we sit here, please, all I'm sharing with you, when you get back to your locations, share it with your members. Every pensioner should know where his or her career documents are. Your letter of appointment, all your letters of promotion, your exit letter, your BVN slip, all your career documents, keep them in a safe place. Fraudsters now try to get these documents and come to the directorate to lay claims. So it is important you know where your documents are, and please keep them safely. Scammers send letters to you. They send emails. Those of us that have emails, they will send scam emails to you and claim to be Ptad or a sister agency that Ptad works with to just deceive you. For those of us who have letter boxes in front of your houses, we've had cases where letters written were dropped in those boxes, purported to be from Ptad. So all these are things you should be aware of. Letters will come, physically you will see it, you see it's from Ptad, saying all sorts of rubbish. Then they target you also. They can come physically in person and talk to you. Perhaps he has got wind that you have some savings or you've been paid some arrears. He will come with some beautiful stories, either investment, or he tells you he has a relation in Ptad. He can get them, he can influence them to increase your pension. Beautiful stories they'll come with. So whoever is coming to you in person, you should be careful. They could be fraudsters. Some of them are so bold that you will be amazed how they'll come to you and give you all sorts of introduction with excellent stories. Then telephone scammers. This is the most rampant. They either call you or send you a text with, as I said, stories. What are the warning signals? I will not talk about those things that when you see, you are alerted that something wrong is about to happen. The person will send you a text and tell you he's from, they normally, but you know, one interesting thing about their messages, they always make mistakes. If you read it carefully, you will discover that this cannot be official. You will see grammatical error, you will see spelling errors. You will see terms like admin clerk. Ptad doesn't have any admin clerk now. So how can admin clerk be writing to you or tells you to call a certain person? If they come in person, they will tell you stories like they have a relationship with the director somewhere, or in OAGF, they can get your pension increased. They will tell you they can create arrears that does not exist and get you paid. So all these kind of stories, just be careful when you begin to hear them. Then some have the boldness to even threaten you. They will tell you, if you don't do this ABC by this time, your pension will be stopped, and you are alarmed. Ptad will not send you a text or call you and threaten to stop your pension. It will not happen. So once you get something like that, you know it's not Ptad. The another thing they do, they request for your bank details. This person who is doing this may not be targeting your monthly pension, but may be targeting some other funds you have in your account. He will ask for your BVN, he asks for your date of birth, your bank account number. Why are you asking? He will tell you stories that they need to do verification to confirm before they pass your file to the next table. So you hear things like that, please be careful. Some of us, or most of us, have either debit or credit cards. When they begin to ask for details on your card, the personal account number you have, that long series of numbers on your card, they ask for it, or the 3 digits you have, that code behind the card, or the expiry date of your card. Or they even ask you for the PIN. They will tell you they need to make some payments to you, so they need this. Once they begin to ask you about your card details, just know that the man is your fraudster. Then this one that is highlighted in red. Anybody calling you to say, go and pay a certain amount to facilitate any payment, just know that it is fraud. Any payment, don't be cowed by what they tell you that we can get your salary increased, or areas you know they never existed. They will tell you they have discovered one areas that they will pay you. So just know that these are red flags that will put you on notice. Ptad, being aware of these scams, has put in place a lot of things to ensure at least the insider part is it's checked. The ES, in her opening remark, strongly spoke about this her disposition towards fraud. The directorate has zero tolerance for fraud. So that had put everybody in line. We have policies, anti-bribery and corruption policy, whistleblowing policies, and all other policies that have taken care of instances of staff being involved in anything that is close to fraud. You know, staff need to be well motivated. It's not enough to have those policies. You have to really motivate them. So the directorate has institutionalized these things, regular trainings. The staff are paid well to ensure that they are motivated and do their work the way it's supposed to be. There are also units like mine, the Monitoring and Compliance Unit, and the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit, Act 2. All these units are set up the directorate to ensure that staff and whatever actions they carry out are strictly in compliance with extant rules to check fraud. We have a very close collaboration with anti-graft agencies like the ICPC and EFCC and even the police and DSS. We engage them regularly, and where we have cases we need to refer to them, we do, and ensure that we are also on top of the game. There are instances where we have laid our hands on people after preliminary investigation, and we have passed on to these security agencies, and they have even charged some of them to court. As I speak to you now, we have a few cases in court against suspected fraudsters. The director of PSSD, Madam Neka, has spoken about the computations, the benefits computation, the TSA, the electronic payment system. All these are measures to ensure that fraud is brought to the minimal. But it's important to note that you know the pension you receive ceases as soon as the pensioner passes on. You will also recall that the directorate has instituted the stoppage of usage of corporate accounts, joint accounts, and other accounts, except individual accounts for pension purposes. This is because we've discovered that when a company account is used, a joint account is used, even when the pensioner passes on, since those bodies may be going concerns, we will never know that the pensioner has passed on. That is why we insist on paying monthly pensions or gratuities or other entitlements into individual bank accounts. And this has saved government a lot of funds. We'll also send regular texts to all the pensioners and next of kin, alerting them of the activities of these scammers. I'm sure you all received this text that is displayed last week. Did you receive it? So you will continue to receive this text. It's just to continue to remind you we are conscious of your age, and perhaps you forget, but we continue to send this to remind you that beware of pension fraudsters who will call or text you. Ptad will never request for cash to process your pension, arrears, gratuity, and payment to NOK. Please, if by chance you have changed your phone number, please come to us and update your record so that you will receive texts like this. What do you do when you experience an attempt? We have this line dedicated to receiving calls. On the program of events booklet you have, this number is also there. In addition, you could send to this email, monitoring@ptad.gov.ng, and to our ACTU email address, actu@ptad.gov.ng. This means that you could alert us as soon as you receive an attempt of these scammers. Okay, I will end this with just tips on what you need to do to check the activities of these scammers. Never share your bank card details. I've mentioned it. That long number on your card, the PIN, don't share it with any third party. In fact, the way you will store your cash is the way you will be storing this card going forward. For those of us that have internet access, you use internet to do transactions, maybe request for checkbook or do transfers. Never share your login details with anybody. There are transactions where perhaps you will request for OTP, that's over one-time password, and they send it to your phone. Please, on no condition will you share that OTP with anyone. I've experienced it personally where I had never initiated a transaction and I saw OTP on my phone. That's a red flag that somebody's attempting something on your account. So when you receive it, alert your bank and ensure you don't share that OTP. Sometimes there are some questions and answers on our accounts. Maybe you have said, for example, what's the name of my village? And then the answer, maybe what is my favorite dish? All those details, please never share them with a third party. Then most importantly, do not use your phone to save all this key information. Your password, your PIN, please don't save them on your phone. And in addition to alerting us when you have this kind of alert, if there's an attempt on your account, please, in addition to informing us, also inform your bank. Another thing you do, that you inform your bank as soon as you lose your phone, you misplace your phone, or you decide to change your number, you don't like the number again, you don't pick another SIM. As soon as you do that, it's very important you alert your bank that I've changed my phone. This is because if you don't do that, information on your account will continue to go to that number, and that phone could be in the wrong person's hand. So as soon as you lose your phone, or you change your SIM, very important, alert the bank that you have done so, and come to the directorate to update your phone number. Then any message you receive, by any means, always confirm or seek clarification from the directorate. We have offices, as my director has said, in 11 locations. And you can also lodge complaints. We advise you, my elders, always avoid the use of third parties, either agents or lawyers. Ptad is accessible. Please come to us with your complaints or clarifications you may seek, and we will do that for you. Then another thing you have to do, if there's any attempt to call you or to send you a text, and you are satisfied that this is a scammer, just block that number on your phone. Block it so that you don't receive again. Or you can label the number. There are some we have received. If you go to Truecaller, you will see fraudster or thief. I mean, They have attempted on someone who has discovered them and has now labeled them the so. So what for you, that is, my suggestion is block the number so they don't disturb you again. And avoid receiving calls from unknown numbers. Please, when you say an unknown number, particularly if you miss the call, don't call back. Most of them are fraudsters. They want to be sure whether the man is still alive. So they will call. When you call back, you are confirming that you are there. So if you see unknown number, missed call, don't call. Then the last and very important point is, do not make payment. I've said that before, but this is very important. We've had cases where pensioners have parted with funds. Unfortunately, it is after they have made the payment that they come to the directorate. Don't make payment. Come to the directorate to seek clarification. Don't make payment. Pass this to your members, please. Do not make any payment on anything as regards your pension or gratuity or anything you are expecting from Ptad. Ptad will not ask you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jibrin, for that very well put together presentation. Please, another round of applause for him. So as much as we're trying to provide services to our pensioners, we're also trying to look for ways to protect the money that you get as monthly pension every month, because we know that people are looking for ways to take, not just from pensioners, from any unsuspecting Nigerian. So those tips that he has outlined are very important red flags for you as pensioners, to always make sure that you are you're in touch with what is happening with your bank account, your phone number. If you've misplaced the phone number that you presented during verification, this is a very good opportunity for you to update that number. You can meet any of our colleagues who are in the IT department to update that number. But we must be able to verify that you are the genuine pensioner. It is very important because, as we've just presented now, we're trying to fight against pension fraudsters. Thank you so much, Mr. Idris, for that presentation. Before we go to the next presentation, I missed out on the goodwill messages. Please, with a very warm round of applause, let's welcome the representative from the National Pension Commission, Mr. Mahmoud Zilang, as he comes forward to give his goodwill message.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangements Directorate, your directors and other staff along with you, our senior citizens, I greet you all. I stand to align and observe the existing protocols. On behalf of the Director General, National Pension Commission, I stand to give this goodwill. My name is Mahmoud Mishal Zilang. Incidentally, I'm from this state. On behalf of the DG, we want to say we are happy with what Ptad is doing on behalf of pensioners. That records the fact that they value you, and we all value you. Thank you so much, Ptad. The innovations that are being put in place to make the processes very seamless is quietly appreciated. I remember I represented the DG at your Northeast zonal session in this same session. And when the report went to them, they were so happy with what is being put in place. And I think it is the same function that is being replicated here so that we will all go together. I believe that every one of you here has a handset. So, as a pensioner, with the innovations that have been put in place, you should not be left behind. And I think the essence of the measures that have been put in place is to make all the processes seamless. I remember my late dad, who retired on the old scheme. They used to go to Lagos whenever they call for verification. And you know what it means. It took him so many years before he was eventually paid his pension. I think 29 years. When he retired, I was in Form 1. Then, eventually he was paid in 2008. 2008, so when you subtract that from when he retired in 1979, discover that it's 29 years. So we are so happy with what the Ptad is putting in place so that all of you, whenever it is time for you to do a verification, you could sit in the comfort of your homes and then provide all the necessary information for them to, for them to pay you accordingly. So we call on you to support these processes they are putting in place so that Nigeria will be better for it as far as the pensioners are concerned. Of course, you know that National Pension Commission is the regulatory body or agency that supervises and regulates pension in the whole of this country. The components of the pension that makes up the pension industry is what is being handled by Ptad, and of course the contributory pension scheme. We want you to go, even after this, to continue to pray for Ptad so that they will continue to do same to us. At the end of it, whenever it is time for them to pay you, they will pay you as at when it is expected. So we want to thank you all for coming out for this function. It is believed that at the end of it, we will go back smiling, and then the support we will give to the pension industry, it will enable them do the needful as at when expected. So thank you very much, Ptad. Thank you, our senior citizens. We believe we'll continue together and Nigeria will be better for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahmoud Zilang, the representative of PENCOM. Please, another round of applause for him. Thank you so much, sir, for your goodwill message. We'll take more goodwill messages in the course of the program. But at this time, permit me, please, it is my distinguished pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is a former permanent secretary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Barrister Sonny Oswago. Please, a round of applause for him. He will be speaking on the challenges in the management of the defined benefit scheme.
Thank you, Harriet. The Executive Secretary, Ptad, and the management staff, I will stand on all existing protocols already established. Great pensioners, Great Nigerian pensioners, I salute you all. I'm also a pensioner. So we are together. What we do quickly is to look at the challenges in the management of the defined benefit scheme from inception and the establishment of Ptad as a solution. The director of PSSD, Ms. Nekamba Obiamalo, lucidly explained what had been done very successfully. I will look at it from how we have seen Ptad and what they have done from outside. She examined it from inside, and by the time I finish, you'll see whether it's an endorsement or what she has done. A bit more. The Pension Reform Act left remnants of some provisions of the Pension Act 102 of 1999 under the defined benefit pay-as-you-go system, which before then faced myriads of problems. One of the, because in Nigeria, it is always very easy when things start working well. That is the problem of our country. We tend to forget what happened in the past. In fact, our own level of tolerance makes us to quickly forget the problems experienced in the immediate past. What we'll be rejoicing is about the solutions without gradually forgetting how those problems came to be and how enormous those problems were. The major problem that led, one of the major problems that led to the challenges of the defined benefit scheme is funding, was funding, irregular and inadequate funding. Before 1979 Constitution, the payment of pension was being paid from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Federation. There was no budget. Once revenue comes, judges are paid, armed forces are paid, pensioners will be paid. This category of public servants. There was no question about whether there will be money left or not. So this was the situation until a lot of things happened. The military came, and there were purges. People were downside. You will be moving on your car, and you hear on your radio that you are retired. So there was a deluge of requests on the pension scheme that was paying only 60 or so, enrolling 60 pensioners a year, started enrolling hundreds of thousands of pensioners. Then that was followed by the 1979 Constitution, influenced by the Judicial Commission, allowed pension and gratuity to be paid under the to be a first charge to the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation. Before then, a minister came and started to question why pension should be on the Consolidated Revenue Fund charges, why it should not be budgeted for. why pension departments should not come and defend their budgets. However, with that kind of atmosphere, the 1999 Constitutional Review reversed that provision of funding pension from the consolidated revenue bond charge as first charge to revenue and made pension to be an annual budgetary affair. Consequently, funding of pension now became subject to the vagaries of the shortfalls in revenue. Once there's a shortfall in revenue, it will affect pension funding. Pension payments became irregular. Arrears of unpaid retirement benefits started to accumulate because the demands and the money being released were not matching. There were a backlog of unpaid gratuities as the payment of gratuity was decentralized to the MDAs. One of the measures taken was to ask each MDA to pay gratuity first and bring the payment and the vouchers to head of service for settlement of the pension, enrolling them on pension. And the ministries were giving money to do that. And most of you knew that they were not paying. Gratuities continue to overlap from year to year. I won't even be surprised if Mr. Shelling is still getting requests for gratuities because most of them were not paid. Then the next thing that happened to the pension fund was the reimbursement of federal share of gratuity and pension to states. Most of you recall that in 1967, 12 states were created out of the 4 regions. In 1970, additional 7 states were created. There were consequential movement of pensioners from the former regions and the newly created states and vice versa. And there were various complaints of financial burden by the new states because they were trying to find their feet. They had no money to carry on with their pension liabilities. And that was how the federal government came to the wisdom. So it's okay for these newly created states that they assumed responsibility to pay their pension up to 31st of March 1976. That added a new burden to the already dwindling resources that was coming because of removing pension from considered revenue fund charges. The liabilities, of course, from after April still resided in the States. This decision, again, went ahead after Udoji. The Pension Act copiously captured the requirement that the state should reimburse as Section 15. So it became a statutory matter. And the financial burden on the unfunded payers to go scheme became very obvious. The issue became more complicated when the states were required to pay the retirees and seek reimbursement from federal government. Note also that the states were paying federal officers domiciled in the states, plus their own officers that had federal share. And the federal government was giving money to the states to do that, sometimes giving advances. And of course, some states saw it as an opportunity to pass on their responsibility to the federal government. That was the problems where became complicated, pensioners were not being paid. That was how the head of service office of service came to the decision in June 2002, and given the fact that there was a banking revolution where people could do banking anywhere, from June 2002, the federal government head of service started making direct payment to pensioners. That was the genesis. So these responsibilities require funds. Then the other thing that happened, which have been dwelt extensively, were inefficient records management. Files and records were manually kept, unlike what is happening today. The file register at the Federal Secretariat at Ikoyi occupied 2 floors in the whole Federal Secretariat. And yet they were still need for more spaces. What you were shown in the picture were those files when they attempted to bring them from Lagos. And they kept them. Of course, there was no space in Abuja. Abuja didn't have that type of space. Then officers' documents were compromised. They were compromised. There existed poor pensional records management. Of course, this led to delayed computation and payment of benefits. There were manipulations of age and date of entry into the people where the files were loose and people had unusual access to them. Then, of course, it has been mentioned, different offices embarked on several and endless verifications, head of service, SIPO, police, military. Everywhere you were hearing of verification exercises, endless. And of course, most of these pensioners, as was shown, exercises exposed pensioners to the vagaries of the weather. Sick and infirm pensioners were carried to verification sites that were far in between. And in spite of all this, no credible data base was generated. Of course, there were allegations of fraud and corruption, extortion and manipulation. In some cases, as we mentioned, pension fraud. The commercial banks did not help matters, as there were cases of collusion with some officials in the diversion of pension funds. Pockets of pension fund syndicates emerged, which used different methods to defraud. It has just been explained to us now. Then, of course, the different pension offices, civil service, head of service, military pension, police, the intelligence community, judiciary had its own, SIPO had its own. Each was established, each of these offices was established with an enabling act or law. And each had its own cadre and its own salary structure. Then the other challenge the pension scheme, the prime minister had, was the parastatal pension scheme. Because it was the policy of the federal government that public service organizations established by an act of the National Assembly, as I've told you, should operate pension schemes compatible with what obtained in the civil service. That policy compelled each parastatal to establish its own pension scheme with its own board of trustees. Most parastatals, of course, due to inexperience, embarked on insured schemes against self-administered schemes. Their trust deed and their board of trustees were allowed to even invest, unlike what you have in your act, which they never knew how to do. And as most of them opted for insured schemes, funds were trapped in insurance with insurance underwriters with no proper return on investment. In some cases, funds were passed through insurance brokers who manipulated the funds to their benefit. Worried about that management, the management of Parasa, the federal government on 30th January 1997 issued that circular, paying that to regulate the activities of Parasa pension schemes. In spite of all these measures, retirees from most had delayed or no pension at all. Arrears accumulated in the parastatals. Various increases in pension rates were not implemented or implemented after several years. There were sheer ignorance and apathy on the part of the trustees. Of course, there was delayed implementation of circulars on increase in pension rates, for example. They were not implemented immediately. In fact, arrears on those increases alone were a problem. The complete liquidation of 33% took close to 10 years, most of you are aware. Pensioners were disillusioned and frustrated. Then, of course, the capacity of the staff, lack of training, capacity, and low morale. And that party was the order of the day. Poor remuneration to staff working there, not what they're paying Ptad now. And the reward system led to self-help. Pensioners suffered as a result of these inadequacies. Of course, the most important problem pensioners faced was the proper information and guidance on what to do. They moved from one part of the office to another without getting adequate information on their files of pension. The environment was hostile, leading to deceit and extortion. There was poor service delivery where it existed. There was negative perception of pension and related matters. If you mention that you are working, it was negative. The environment around the pension offices were littered with pensioners sleeping and hanging around in the open space. I was telling the directors yesterday that the first time they set up Ptad, the first executive secretary, Nelly, invited me to come and see what she was doing. Then I was expecting from that vegetable, fruit and vegetable market to see litters of pensioners. I didn't see. I entered her office and I saw that everything, she was fixing technology everywhere. She demonstrated to me a few things she had done. I said, Nelly, the fact that you don't have pensioners camping around, some cooking, some with their wives camping around. In fact, the neighborhood, that Ikoyi neighborhood, that Yereseram, in fact, the landlords association would have protested because they'd be camping in front of their gates. I said the fact that I didn't see these people, because that is a regular picture of a pension office. Like the fact that I didn't see people, it means you have taken the right steps, that she should keep it up. And that has never happened in Ptad. You can't go and see a pensioner stooping under the tree, or under the garage, or under the staircase. Now, these were the ugly picture that was around. Then the Pension Reform Act 204 came, followed by Pension Reform 2014. And Section 42(1) of the Pension Act established Ptad and empowered the Directorate to carry out functions of all the relevant pension offices. These things that I've described to you, they were all over the place, scattered all over. To gather them together, SIPO, Civil Service Pension, Police, Civil Service, various pension boards of trustees and universities. In fact, when they set up Ptad, I laughed. I said, these people are joking. They will just run away. But today, Ptad didn't run away. In fulfillment of his mandate, Ptad set out from the onset to introduce measures that completely revolutionize and change the narrative in the management and the result of the five benefits in the following areas. Funds, managing funds, because that's the key. You know, Ptad is a treasury-funded directorate. It adheres strictly to all the provisions of the financial regulation and treasury circulars. While complying with the requirements of the TSA, it has also put in place efficient and transparent financial management practices. This I know, because I know what I'm saying. Pension funds allocated to the Directorate are appropriately utilized and in settlement or retirement benefits. They never use it for anything. And they don't have bank account. There is no bank account. Everything is in TSA. The Directorate ensures diligent preservation of pension assets and resources allocated to it. Then, the most important thing to a pensioner, to we, the pensioners, is proper payment of retirement benefits. They deploy state-of-the-art technology to process pension benefits and to ensure that pension is paid every month promptly and regularly. I think you receive your alert regularly, because alert is very important to a pensioner, and it reduces your blood pressure will become normal if you get alert. That is the truth of the matter. Because Ptad established direct online electronic payments to pensioners' accounts. There's no question of going through. Computation of benefits are automated, which ensures precise and accurate payment or retirement. They deployed technology to do those things. In those days, it was done manually. And of course, they succeeded what I thought was impossible, to consolidate all those pension offices. Civil service pension, SIPO, police, pension, parastatals. The pension boards of trustees of parastatals were diligently brought under the PAPD department. Ptad embarked successfully on recovering most of the pension assets and investment by the boards of the, including legacy funds. They have done so much to do that. The director was able to work through the disparate salary structures of different parastatals to produce a well-organized payroll system. The consolidation of all pension offices led to prudent management of pension funds. It also facilitated determination of pension liabilities. Accordingly, annual pension burdens were determined with some degree of accuracy, unlike the estimates that was done before. Now, the innovation that came was digitization of personal data and records. And Ptad, the first thing they did, which I also told Nelly when I met her, try first off, try to know the people you are paying. And they embarked on a robust verification exercise to determine the number of pensioners in his payroll. For the first time in Nigeria, verification of pensioners became pleasurable. Pensioners were treated with compassion and dignity in a conducive environment. You all witnesses. As part of Ptad welfare services, refreshments and drinks were served to pensioners during verification in this Nigeria. That thing that was done under the hot sun. No water, no pure water. And they were giving refreshment. Ptad staff exhibited care, empathy, which conferred dignity on pensioners. This was deeply appreciable by most pensioners I interviewed. A unique innovation which has been explained here was the provision of mobile verification of the sick, elderly, and infirm pensioners. That was novel and new in Nigeria. These both steps lead to the successful biometric digitalization of pensioners' records by the directorate. And then, of course, if you remember what I said earlier, circulars were not, when they were issued, it took a long time to implement them. But when the consequent adjustment of pension came, the circular was issued by National Salaries in April. By May, Ptad had paid, including the arrears. That was impossible. That was like seven wonders of the world. And we need to commend Ptad for that. A round of applause for that. Then, of course, I mentioned lack of communication. A retired person is a retired officer is a lonely person who requires help at all times. The high point of pension at 2014 is the provision for Pensioners Support Services Department, PSSD. For me, that was one of the most important departments created by the Act. Pensioners can always reach the directorate through an IT-based call center, by email, Facebook, Twitter. It has been explained here. You can reach them. The on-days registration is always available to pensioners on specified days of the week. Most importantly, Ptad introduced interactive stakeholder engagement sessions, which we are having now, which are having today. And this helped to narrow down the communication gap between the directorate, pensioners, and other stakeholders. If there was no stakeholder engagement, how will you hear all these things that NEC has said? You wouldn't hear. You will just believe on word of rumor and speculations. So it is good for you to know firsthand what is very important that they did that. And of course, all these achievements I've listed above could not have been possible without a competent, professional, and a motivated workforce. Commendation should go to the Executive Secretary and all the directors for the ability to harness their staff for hard work and greater output. Arrangements, although they are doing that, further arrangements should be put in place to continue training and retraining all the officers. I thank you, Executive Secretary, because you're already doing that, training them. Looking ahead to the future, the setting up now here is 11 liaison offices with fully equipped IT work tools is a step in the right direction. It will further bring administration of pensions closer to pensioners in the states. Thanks to Ptad Executive Management and staff for processes being undertaken to return pensioners to the National Health Insurance Scheme. I hope it's still going on. We also wish to commend progress so far made in the My Life scheme. I hope that the pace of implementation will be accelerated. Please, the process, even by advocacy, even by the pensioners union, those of you who have contacts, that will statutorily return the funding of pension as a first charge to the consolidated revenue of federation should be explored. Pension should be paid before salaries. So anything, we're even talking about it in the Council of Retired Permanent Secretaries. We are working towards anything that should return pension to first charge to revenue. Once money comes, whether they pay pensioners before they think of those who are, because we suffered for this country. So you should be rewarded. So this should be explored by the Executive Secretary with due respect, you and your directors. Whatever push you can beg to see if funding of pension can come back as a first charge to revenue. In conclusion, the pensioners, please, this is for you. Please try to develop the attitude of encouraging Ptad management and staff so that they can serve you more diligently. Commend them. Commendation should be given to them when they do well and they are performing well. You see what they are applying this morning. They are doing well. We should thank them. And pensioners, please try to give feedback. If you complain about something and it is resolved, try to call back or send text message that my matter has been resolved. I had 2 people in Parasada scheme who have been worrying me. They're giving me sleepless nights, calling me 4 a.m., 2 a.m. And I came to see the director of PAPD in his office. I said, these 2 people have been calling me. Well, I don't rest. He said, when did they call you? I told him. He said, give me 1 minute. He entered. He called one of his officers. He said, these 2 people were paid since April. They didn't even have the courtesy of calling me that they are worrying to say that they have received the money. When I called back to say you were paid in April, that money, big. How can you do like that? At least tell me so that I can thank Kabiru and his staff. Please give feedback then if you have anything if you find anything not working well, just give constructive suggestion through PSSD. You say this thing, we think that it should be done this way, not to castigate them and run them down. And above all, these staff, they are children and our grandchildren. Let us continue to pray for them to succeed in what they're doing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Please, another round of applause for Barrister Sonny Oswagu, OON. He's a former permanent secretary with Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. And like the executive secretary always says, gatherings such as this is a very good way for us to unlearn and relearn. There's so many presentations here today that have shown our dear pensioners and everybody else who has joined this live stream the growth that Ptad has recorded since it was established in 2013 till date. And I think we deserve a round of applause for that, please. Thank you very much. Now, the next presentation is going to be very hands-on. The Executive Secretary mentioned it during her opening remarks. We're talking about the I Am Alive confirmation solution. Most of you seated here in the audience have participated in this. And also, last week, we actually had a training for pension desk officers and pension union representatives from the North Central. And some of you here in the audience were part of that training. Now we're going to do another presentation still on the I Am Alive confirmation. I'd like to invite the Deputy Director and Head of the IT Department, Ms. Judy Membo, for this presentation. Please, a round of applause.
Good afternoon, Executive Secretary, esteemed pensioners, directors, colleagues, and members of the press. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. The ES has talked about the innovative concept of the I'm Alive confirmation solution, and I'm going to give you an overview of what this concept is all about. There will be a brief session for practical demonstrations within the hall for the pensioners. And we'll also show you some video clip animations just to buttress what it is and give you more insight. So this is a presentation on the I'm Alive confirmation process. It's basically a web-based solution. Quite easy to use, it is fast and it's secure, and it has two options. You can either make use of the fingerprint option or the facial option. When we mean the facial option, that means you have to have a phone, a smartphone that has a camera, where just like you take your selfie, you'd make use of your phone. And we have considered a situation where you have infirmed or sick pensioners. We could make use of the desktop option where they will use their fingerprint just in case they are not able to make use of their phone. So we have both options available, but we appreciate if most people can make use of the phones in the comfort of their home. And for either option, you have to ensure you go through the Ptad website to be sure that you have picked up the right steps and processes and the software to be used. So like I said, it's a web-based solution to confirm the aliveness of verified pensioners on Ptad's monthly payroll so that they can continue to receive their monthly pension. A web-based solution simply means that you can access either with a phone or a computer. Pensioners access the I'm Alive confirmation application from the comfort of their homes, their offices, without the need to travel. We have lots of issues of insecurity, so we're trying to come up with an innovative solution that would allow the pensioners confirm their aliveness in their houses without physically coming to Ptad offices. There are two options, like I said, the facial option and the fingerprint device option. Either way, you have to ensure the first step is to go to Ptad website and select what of the options, either of the options to adopt. So you have the Ptad website. Once you come here, on this button that is here, you have the icon of I'm Alive. Once you click on it, it brings you down and highlights the various steps that you require to carry out the process. On the website, you have a write-up that gives you the procedural steps, sequential step-by-step process to carry out the facial confirmation and the fingerprint confirmation. So for the pensioners, they need to log on to Ptad website, www.ptad.gov.ng, using their smartphone systems. Then you click on the I'm Alive button, which is up here. And at the bottom of the page, once you scroll down, you have the icon also there. And you will now be asked to start the I'm Alive process. There are only 2 informations we need from you for this exercise to be successfully concluded. Your pensioner number, that is your Ptad verification pensioner number. It's unique to you, is your unique identifier, and your bank account number. We're not going to ask you for your BVN, we're not going to ask you for your ATM PIN or anything, just your pensioner number, which was given to you when you came for Ptad verification. I'm sure you have the slip, and also your bank account details. And once you have that in place, once you follow the steps, your photo ID will be picked up to confirm that you're actually the person that owns the account, and you have to perform some liveness checks in the process. So this button here at the bottom takes you to the I'm Alive confirmation process. Say proceed for I'm Alive confirmation. So once you click on it, then you'll now take you to the page for I'm Alive confirmation. For the facial fingerprint option, you have some software that you need to download. The SecureGen fingerprint device. You have to download that. And it's quite easy. There are 3 files you need to extract, but it's self-driven. Once you extract them, it shows you that the process has been successfully completed. The view that you have on your phone is different from that of the laptop. So this shot just gives you a shot of what it looks like on your phone. On your phone, if you come here on this black tab, once you click on it, it takes you to the I'm Alive option, and you now come here and start the process. Once you click on the I'm Alive option bar here, then the process starts. Like I said, you'll be asked to put in your Ptad verification number only. We are going to demonstrate and highlight what it looks like on your verification slip. We've carried out various verifications for CPID, for PAPD, for PSSD and PPD category of pensioners. So we have verification slips and the numbers. What the arrow that is in red here depicts the pensioner number, which is your unique identity, and the one at the bottom also depicts the same thing. So these are the numbers you're going to put in when the system asks you to put in your Ptad verification number and your account number. So if you put that in, it pops up to a picture from Ptad database, and the process would now begin. So once you key in your Ptad verification number, the next thing to key in is your account number. If you key in your account number, you have your picture displayed to confirm that you're the actual pensioner that is involved. Now, for you to use your phone, you have to make sure your camera on your phone is on. And the camera is facing you, not facing somebody else. Like you're taking a selfie, taking a picture of yourself. And you should have a lot of light illumination to carry out this exercise. And this will also require the pensioner physically moving their head to confirm that they are alive. Because the system will actually detect, if your head is not moving, that means you're a still pensioner, you're not an alive person. Sorry. These dots, when you start the process, this purple dot here moves around to indicate that the pensioner is alive. So you have to use your head and follow the dots. Move your head around until the process is complete. If it's successfully done, you would have a confirmation saying that your exercise was successfully completed. This is just a confirmation slip that says the exercise was completed. Same thing is applicable for the fingerprint option, where you have to connect this device, here, the red one, to your computer or your laptop. And once you have put in your verification number and your account details, and the system picks up your picture, recognizing you, it will now tell you to put in your finger on this device to validate your fingerprint. So like we did for the other one, you come to the I'm Alive icon on Ptad website only, not on any other website. And once you click on that, the steps to guide you are all there. And you now come down here to this. This is the fingerprint option. Like I said, you have to download the SecureGen fingerprint device on your system. Once you extract it, it installs automatically. is self-extracting. You don't have to do anything to that. Then you now click on the AmaLife desktop application, extract the software's devices. There are 3 files. Once you click on them, the system automatically installs them. Then you now proceed to AmaLife option. These are the files we are talking about on the system itself. So this is how the process looks like. Once you click on it, the device, the file is extracted and it starts installing. It's an executable file, so you don't need to do anything. It just runs on the system, and when it finishes, it tells you that you're ready to go. Okay, so this is when you click on the file, one of the files, you have this says, welcome to Ptad AmaLife Wizard Setup. That tells you that you clicked the right icon and it installs on its own automatically on your system. And like the mobile option, you're also going to be asked to put in your pensioner number, which I had shown you earlier, your Ptad verification pensioner ID number, and you're also going to be asked to put your bank account details. Once you put that, the system tries to bring up your details, and if you are the one, it now tells you to continue. Either you put in your email address, which is an optional one, or if you want them to send the details to your system, you put in your email address and click on continue. Now, the next stage you now have to be to put in your finger on the device. Once you put in your finger, it looks at your finger, matches it with the fingerprint that we have on the database in our head office. If you are the person, it will give you a successful message that the exercise has been successful. And this is a snapshot of what you have. Your confirmation, AmaLife confirmation using fingerprint was successful. So you're going to get messages either way. And like we have said, this is just a pilot test. So you might get messages telling you your exercise was successful, you're going to do it in the next 6 months. Kindly ignore. By the time you roll out the full exercise, we get back to you. It's just to test and demonstrate for the pensioners. It's nothing to worry about, please. So if you get that text, just ignore. It just shows that the process is actually working because we are doing a carry-out pilot. So one of the key benefits of this is it's a very convenient method. It's easy and accessible. Offers secure authentication. That means nobody else can impersonate you. It's quite easy to use. It takes a short time. Meets the needs of the pensioners. It saves costs for pensioners and the federal government, and allows Ptad to periodically update our pensioner database. Most especially for the phone option, you have to have your internet. You have to have data to carry out this exercise, because you're going to log on to Ptad website. But I can assure you it's a simple process. It is quite convenient, and it's something we're going to also demonstrate in the course of the exercise. It's just a pilot, like I said, and it's nothing to worry about, so that you have a feel of what the application and the benefits therein. Thank you very much. We're going to play some video animations also to buttress the fact, give you also an insight before we have the practical demonstration of how to use this application, so that the pensioners can, when we go on full scale, you'll be able to do it yourself, but just to have a feel of what the process is all about. So we're going to have an animation of the ES, who is a pensioner like you. We've got our permission to do that, and we'll also give you other clips of what the process is all about. So sit back and watch. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, the Executive Secretary of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, and here is how you can complete your aliveness check using the I Am Alive confirmation process.
The I Am Alive confirmation solution is a web-based software designed to enable pensioners easily confirm their aliveness from the comfort of their homes or neighborhood, using either a smartphone or a computer system. For the facial confirmation, log on to Ptad website www.ptad.gov.ng. Click on the I Am Alive tab at the top of the page. This will take you to a page showing you the steps for the I Am Alive confirmation. Scroll to the bottom of the steps. Click on Proceed to I Am Alive confirmation to start and follow the 2 steps validation process. 1. Enter your Ptad pensioner's verification number. 2. Enter your bank account number. You're ready to begin. Take your photo. It will be validated with the existing picture in the Ptad database. Perform the aliveness check by moving your face to follow the moving object on the screen. When the aliveness check is completed, a confirmation page will display successful with a unique number. You will receive an SMS notification of the successful completion of the process. Congratulations! For I Am Alive support, please call 0814 445 5942 or 0818 424 2272 or email iamalivasupport@ptad.gov.ng. Ptad I Am Alive confirmation. Secure, safe, and reliable.
Hello, my name is Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, the Executive Secretary of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, and here is how you can complete your aliveness check using the I Am Alive confirmation process.
To use the fingerprint confirmation, you will need to access a computer system with fingerprint device for fingerprint capturing. Log on to Ptad website www.ptad.gov.ng. Click on the I Am Alive tab at the top of the page. This will take you to a page showing you the steps for the I Am Alive confirmation. Ensure that .NET desktop runtime is installed on the computer. Click here to download the I Am Alive setup folder. Extract all files and install on your computer, one after the other. After a successful installation of the I Am Alive confirmation desktop application, double-click on the application icon on the desktop to launch the application. 1. Enter your Ptad pensioner's verification number. 2. Enter your bank account number. You're ready to begin. Place any of your fingers on the fingerprint device for capturing. If the fingerprint is successfully captured, it will display a success message box. When the aliveness check is completed, the pensioner will receive an SMS notification of the successful completion. Congratulations! For I Am Alive support, please call 0814 445 5942 or 0818 424 2272 or email iamalivasupport@ptad.gov.ng. Ptad I Am Alive confirmation. Secure, safe, and reliable.
To use the fingerprint confirmation, you will need to access a computer system with fingerprint device for fingerprint capturing. Log on to Ptad websites on www.ptad.gov.ng using a smartphone or computer system. Click on the I Am Alive tab at the top of the page. Click here to download the SecuGen fingerprint device driver. Extract and install on your machine. Click here to download SecuGen Fingerprint SDK. Extract and install on your machine. Click here to download the I Am Alive Confirmation desktop application. Extract and double-click on Setup to install on your machine. After a successful installation of the I Am Alive Confirmation desktop application, double-click on the application icon on the desktop to launch the application. Start the I Am Alive confirmation process following the two steps validation process. 1. Enter your pensioner's number. 2. Enter your bank account number. Do the fingerprint validation by placing any of your fingers on the fingerprint device for capturing. If the fingerprint is successfully captured and validated with the existing fingerprint on Ptad's database, it will display the successful message box. When the aliveness check is completed, the pensioner will receive an SMS notification of the successful completion. Congratulations! For I Am Alive support, please call 0814-445-5942 or 0818-424-2272 or email iamaliveSupports@ptad.gov.ng. The Ptad's Pensioners I Am Alive Confirmation. Secure, easy to use, and cost-effective. Alive Confirmation Solution is a web-based software designed to enable pensioners easily confirm their aliveness from the comfort of their homes or neighborhood using either a smartphone or a computer system. For the facial confirmation, log on to Ptad websites on www.
You're welcome back from that practical demonstration of how to use the I Am Alive confirmation solution. I'd like to invite Ms. Judy Membo back to the stage. And just to also remind us, I remember I mentioned at the beginning of this program that if we have questions, we can please write them down. There's a part on the program where you can write your questions and your name and phone number. You can give to any of my colleagues wearing black. And we'll be glad to respond to your questions at the time when we're focusing on the questions and answers.
Thank you very much. Please, we are going to call out in no particular order names of pensioners just to try out the solution and see what it looks like. Like I said, it's just a pilot and nothing else. So if you hear your name, we have two options, the mobile option, that's for your face, and the desktop option. So for those that are going to make use of their phones, we please employ you to sit on your seat. For those that are going to do the desktop option, my colleagues at the back are going to raise their hands. You please quietly walk up there for us to be able to, assist you. Please hold on. What did she say? Hello, excuse me. We conducted a PDO training in Abuja just last week. So by indication of your hand, if you could raise your hand, do you have any of them here that is going to assist us once we start the exercise in addition to Ptad staff? Do you have any of the PDOs here? Thank you very much. Thank you. I can see two hands at the back. Thank you very much. So once we start the exercise, you please join either the desktop option or the mobile option for the face, just to have a view, so that we can teach pensioners once we go live how the process works. So in no particular order, if you're for the mobile, please sit on your desk. If you're for the desktop, please go to the back. Is that okay? Can I go ahead? Huh? Please announce it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Judy. She will continue with the names in just a bit. But if you were part of any of the focal persons who were part of the training that Ptad conducted for pension desk officers and pension union representatives, please let's see your hand up. So we have a large number. Now you remember that the executive secretary said that the reason for the training was so that you could train others. So it's a case of train the trainer. We're going to be expecting you to join Ptad officials who will be conducting this exercise very shortly to also make sure that you get a practical understanding of what you've already learned so that you can continue to train others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with CPID category of pensioners. Mr. Joseph Anwa, please remain on your seat. Andra Olubumi Ogundeko, please go to the back. Yakubu John and Galu, please remain on your seat. Okay.
Mr. Daniel Deshi Chobe, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Beatrice Duchess, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. John Dong, please remain on your seat. Mr. Tijani Saliu, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Pwajok Chuwang, please remain on your seat. Mr. Ilya Tangshang, please go to the back of the hall. I hope we are all clear about this announcement. If you hear your name and you're asked to please remain in your seat, please remain in your seat. Ptad official or any of the focal persons who have conducted this training of I Am Alive confirmation will come to you and put you through the process. It's still part of train the trainer. For those whose names are announced and you're asked to go to the back of the hall, you will be participating in the fingerprint I Am Alive confirmation demonstration. So for those in the hall, it will be the facial confirmation using a mobile device. For those at the back of the hall, you'll be using a fingerprint device attached to a laptop. This is just to give a practical demonstration of how to use the different types of the I Am Alive confirmation solution. Are we clear? Thank you very much. Okay, so this is for customs, immigration, prisons. Mr. Garba Mohammed Idrisu, please remain in your seat. Mr. Pope Gubum, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Daniel Pam Jang, please remain in your seat. Mr. Pam Stephen Davu, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Umhungu Yokia Manasseh, please remain in your seat. Mr. Innocent Ame, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Tena Shenge, please remain in your seat. Mr. Samuel Gana Sado, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Kurape Danladi, please remain in your seat. Mr. James Damina, please go to the back of the hall. And Mr. Moses Okai, please remain in your seat. The names I'm reading out now is for civil service pensioners. Mr. Musa Madugu, please remain in your seat. Mr. George Obadiah, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Godwin Odukwe, please remain in your seat. Mr. James Dassam, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Chondong Yusuf, please remain in your seat. Mr. Matthew Bott, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Gordon Likita, please remain on your seat. Mr. Patrick Eke, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Amos Damla, please remain on your seat. Mr. Matthew Tarankum, please remain on your seat. Mr. Wilson Onyeozili, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Jonah Abechi, please remain on your seat. Udwak Akpabio, please remain on your seat. Bessie Azwanaga, please move to the back of the hall. Dahiru Diko Abdullahi, please remain on your seat. Abibat Otunla, please move to the back of the hall. Audu Bualdu, please remain on your seat. Samuel Nden, please remain on your seat. Napoleon Fale, please move to the back of the hall. Thomas Laoye, I beg your pardon. Thomas Farinde, please move to the back of the hall. Are we done? Abigail Laoye, please remain on your seat. Joshua Dongo, please go to the back of the hall. Musa Sambo, please move to the back of the hall. Mr. Masok, please remain on your seat. Adamu Umaru, please remain on your seat. John Damak, please move to the back of the hall. The next list of pensioners is for police pensions. Mr. Emmanuel Okopi, please move to the back of the hall. Toma Choji, please remain on your seat. Stephen Chai, please move to the back of the hall. Yusufu Kudu, please remain on your seat. Umaru Bakaya, please move to the back of the hall. Al-Hassan Mohammed, please remain on your seat. Emmanuel Ipa, please remain on your seat. Gail Zidong, please please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Daniel Ajang, please also go to the back of the hall. Jessica Dasplang, please remain on your seat. Ilya Lokadang, please remain on your seat. Tende Bala, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Lawrence Makama, please go to the back of the hall. So this list now is for parastatals pensioners. Peter Idu, please remain on your seat. Salihu Isa, please remain on your seat. Eno Okon, please remain on your seat. Esther Obadiah, please remain on your seat. Sharifat Adediji, please remain on your seat. Mawo Gambo Alexander Adafi, please go to the back of the hall. Mercy Dabiring, please go to the back of the hall. Christopher Omunume, please go to the back of the hall. Daniel Enenche, please remain on your seat. Luca Ayikwe, please remain on your seat. Joshua Gwong, please go to the back of the hall. David Babatunde Taiwo, please remain on your seat. Mr. Benedict Ojogbane, please remain on your seat. Mr. Benedict, you were also part of the focal persons that were trained by Ptad last week, so you will be participating in showing others how it's done. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Richard Igbiri, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Chukudubem Mba, please remain on your seat. Mr. Ibrahim Ohere, please remain on your seat. Love Inagbo, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Sila Gyangzi, please remain on your seat. Mr. Danjuma Danke, please remain on your seat. Mr. Davu Vwot, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Augustine Geltu, please remain on your seat. Mr. Yahaya Mohammed, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Yakubu Barje, please remain on your seat. Mr. Philip Benley, please go to the back of the hall. Mr. Gabriel Dako, please remain on your seat. Mr. I beg your pardon. Amina. No. Aminu Yujeb, please remain on your seat. Thank you very much for your kind patience. This is just a test. And if we can go back to that visual that was showing some seconds ago. Can we go back to that? So what you can see right now on your screen is my colleague helping out with the fingerprint confirmation option of the I Am Alive confirmation solution. So for those of you who heard your name and you were asked to go to the back of the hall, you will be joining the demonstration of the fingerprint I Am Alive confirmation. For those who were asked to remain in their seats, you will be joining the practical demonstration for the facial confirmation of I Am Alive. Don't forget, if you have questions, please write it on a piece of paper with your name and your telephone number and give to any of my colleagues wearing black. I'd like to hand over the microphone now to the Director, Civil Service Pension Department, Mr. Suleiman Shelling.
Thank you, Harriet. Please, if you've been asked to remain on your seat, can you indicate by raising your hand? All the Ptad staff, can you come forward and support these pensioners, please? Ptad staff, all of you, can you come forward, please? If you're outside, can you leave what you're doing and come forward? Can you indicate by raising your hand? Ptad staff, please, can you just choose any? Ptad staff, can you come forward? All of you, please. Yeah, please, let them come in. What are they doing also? Where'd you go? All Ptad staff, can you make your way forward? You helping out already? Okay, go on. So if you are a focal person, can you indicate by raising your hand as well? Focal person? Okay, so for each pensioner who has been selected to perform the facial, there will be one Ptad staff and one focal person on you so that they can guide you through the process. So can we just identify, please? Focal persons, can you join our staff? Focal person, yeah, can you come over? Pensioner or focal person? Yeah, those are for facial. Can you indicate by raising your hand? For facial. Are you for facial, sir? For facial, yeah? Mr. Cole, you are a focal person. Are you for facial? Sir? Are you for facial or you are a focal person? Did they call your name? They called your name? I don't know, sir.
Some of them says they have done before. So if you have done before, you don't need to do it again. Just let them.
Ogami,
Huh?
they called my name before. They said I should sit down.
That one by one, they'll come attend to you.
They'll come and...
It's just a test. It's nothing.
Please, if you have already performed the I'm Alive confirmation before, even if your name has been called, there is no need for you to do again. Okay? Please, if you've done it before, even if you've been selected, there is no need. If you've done it before, there is no need. Have you done it before? Okay, there is no need then.
We did our own in Abuja.
Yes. So you are you not the focal?
Okay.
To assist him to do the analysis. If you have been selected and you haven't done the confirmation before, and you're currently not being attended to, can you indicate by raising your hand, please? Okay. Someone there. You haven't done. Yeah. What place can you guys? Can you you've been selected, sir? Sebastian, please come and attend to this one. Are you helping out anybody?
Yes, sir. Question?
Meet this guy, please.
Okay, he has given his question already.
Oh, is it question?
Yeah.
Oh, it's question you have? Have you been selected for the MLI? Is that called your name? If you have been selected and you're currently not been attended to, can you indicate by raising your hand? You've been selected, sir, and you've not been attended to. No, she's right there. She will attend to you. She's right there. She will attend to you. And if you have already you've already carried out the confirmation test before, wherever it was, you are not required to repeat it. Even if you've been selected today, there is no need for you to do it again.
looking for them. This thing is a technical. We should rectify it.
Can I see those who have finished the confirmation process? Can you indicate by raising your hand if you finish the confirmation? How many people have finished the confirmation? Do you need one? Okay. I'll send someone to you now. And please, if you've not been selected today for this demonstration, there is no cause for alarm, because once the full confirmation process kicks off, everybody will get a text message. Everybody will get a text message with the instruction to perform the confirmation test. Is there anybody who needs support? Is there anybody who needs support? Are there pensioners who have been selected who require additional support? If you finish the confirmation, can you indicate by raising your hand, please? Have you finished, sir? How was it? Easy, right? Very easy. Yes? It's as easy as sending a text message.
Yeah, it was very easy.
Very easy.
Yes. Thank you.
Have we finished? Has everybody done here? Have you been selected? Okay, okay. No, there is no cause for alarm. If you've not been selected for today's demonstration, when the exercise kicks off, you will receive a text message with the guidelines on how you can confirm your aliveness. Is there anybody here who needs help? Have you been attended to? Are you free? Please, can you come? Oh, you can use your phone, or it doesn't have to be his phone. And please, whether you have a smartphone or not, whether you have data or not, if you've been selected, you can use your neighbor's phone, you can use your colleague's phone, and you can even use the phone of the Ptad staff that is, or the focal person that is assisting you. Yeah? Oh, you've been verified, okay. Not been selected, sir. There is no cause for alarm, sir. So when the exercise starts fully, you will receive a text message on how you can confirm yourself. So all you just need to do is just pay attention to the demonstration and understand, okay? And if you have any question, you can ask our staff or any of the focal persons. I mean, that is your union representatives or pension desk officers.
Sir,
Yes.
you see my problem. This is my phone number. Then the
See,
man
there is
said
no need for BVN, please.
Okay, your
No.
man said the network is not working.
Oh, is that what he said? At the back there?
Eh,
Okay, so when it comes back on, I'm sure he will help.
I will come and meet them in the office.
Okay, all right, no problem. Please be mindful. Only two information are required: your account number and your pensioner number. Your BVN is not required. Your ATM card number is not required. Your ATM PIN is not required. Only your account number and your pensioner verification number. If you need support, can you indicate by raising your hand? If you need additional support, can you indicate by raising your hand? Is there any pensioner who needs support? Anybody who needs support, can you indicate by raising your hand? Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? Is there anybody who needs additional support? So if you've been confirmed either here today or before today, can you indicate by raising your hand? If you've been confirmed before, ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? If you've been confirmed before, can you indicate by raising your hand? Yeah? It doesn't have to be today. If you've been confirmed previously. Yeah? Okay. What about those who require additional support? Nobody? We are all good? Is there anybody here who needs additional support? Anybody? Anybody here who needs support? Have you all been confirmed? Here today or before today or previously? Previously. If you've been confirmed either before or now or today, can you indicate by raising your hand? So what is your own, where do you belong to, sir? You belong to nobody? You belong to who, sir? You have not? Were you selected today? Did they mention your name? Okay, no problem. What's your...
Before, but can I still do it now?
No, if you've done it before, you don't need to do it again. Okay? Yes, what are your circumstances, sir?
I was confirmed
before.
You were confirmed before?
Yes.
How did you find the process, sir?
Very fine.
Very fine.
Yes.
It's as easy as sending a text message.
It is very easy. And you people should continue and do to everybody. Because many of our people are asking when their own will be due.
Their own will come very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
It does not. It does not. At all. Nothing you've done here today matters. It's all part of the pilot exercise. Once the full exercise commences, everybody will be informed, and then you'll be given the clear guidelines on how to perform the confirmation. That will now involve everybody. Thank you. Yes, yes. If you've done it before, no, it doesn't matter. To be honest. It's all part of the. It's all part of the yes. It doesn't matter. If you are not selected for this practical demonstration, it does not matter. Yes, once the full exercise commences, you will get a text message notifying you. No, she doesn't need to until we start. If she's done the confirmation under the pilot phase, she doesn't need to do it again. But when the full exercise commences, she will receive a text message asking her to do the full one. So, but there is no need for her to do it again. Are we good here? Are we good here? Okay. Yes, sir. There is no need, sir. There is no problem. Just no. You wait when the full exercise commences. Then everyone will be informed, and you will receive a text message.
And when you are not conversant with the...
No, you will be. You can. Yes, they will teach you. Yes, they will. Yes. Are we all good now? Can we wrap this up in 5 minutes, please? Can we wrap this up in 5 minutes, except if you have... Does anybody need help? Okay, we will wrap up this demo session in 5 minutes. Please, if we have finished the confirmation process, can we quietly come back to our seats, please? The demo session will be over in another 3 minutes. Can we come back to our seats, please, if we're finished? Can we come back to our seats so that we can proceed to the next segment of the program, please? Thank you very much. Can we come back to our seats, please? The demo segment is now. Apart from those who are still awaiting the fingerprint confirmation, can we all go back to our seats, please? Can we go back to our seats? Yeah. Except for those who are awaiting fingerprint confirmation, can everybody else take their seats, please? Can we all come back to our seats, apart from those who are waiting to be fingerprinted? We are ready to proceed to the next segment of the program, please. Harriet, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shelleng. And thank you for directing proceedings as we conducted a practical demonstration for I Am Alive confirmation using the facial and the fingerprint option. And I heard one or two people who spoke on the efficacy of this solution. You'll agree that it is safe, it is secure, and it is reliable. Of course, most of today we've been listening to presentations. So I am very, very sure that we have a lot of questions from all of the presentations that we've heard here today. Can we please settle down as we begin to wind down on today's program? We thank you so much for your patience and for your encouragement and support. But please, we crave your indulgence for the next 1 hour or less as we wind down this program. Thank you very much for your attention. So next on the lineup is a question and answer session. To moderate this session, I'd like to call on the Director, Customs, Immigration and Prisons Pensions Department, Mr. Abubakar Abdallah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, that sounds better. Are you all happy? We thank God for everything. Like my predecessors indicated earlier on, and I've seen you've written your questions with the phone numbers. We'll try as much as possible to do justice to them. And again, in case your question is not read, listen attentively to the ones I'm going to read, because we have duplicate questions. We have people asking, 2 or 3 people asking the same question. Thirdly, in an event that the questions are not well understood by you, we have Ptad Stakeholder over here before we go. We'll as well attend to you. DS Ma, please allow me to stand on the existing protocol, Ma. The first I have here is, I recommend Ptad for keeping, I commend Ptad for keeping the promise by paying our monthly pensions as when due. I pray that Ptad will also look into our complaints because prisons were grossly underpaid by then SIPO director, Mr. Rashid Maina, who is cooling his feet now in prison. Well, I don't know where he is. Thank you for the commendation, and then we want specifics. If you have complaint on short payment or any outstanding arrears, please, we have a staff here, do meet him or her so that we will now look at if you have documents to give. NUPACSLL. We want to acknowledge the good works of Ptad since consolidation of our pensions in August 2015. Yes, the narrative has changed. However, we, the NUPASCL, still have a handful of complaints, some since October 2016, that are yet to be resolved. We have sent complaints on several occasions, but are yet to be attended to. Could the ES give us a day so that we can come to Abuja and listen to this? Hello? Hello? Please, the ES has directed that we should pay attention, because this is very important. The essence of this is to have feedback, is to interact, is to discuss. So please, let us pay attention to this. I know you are already getting tired and all that. I'll make it as snappy as possible. ASCL, it is requesting that ES give them a date to go to Ptad Abuja and then to lodge their complaint. Here I want to borrow ES. The best you can do is, we have state offices, and you can write. Hello? You can write, and I can assure you that it will get to her and she will attend to it. We don't want people to save people from these travels. Please, we don't want to encourage traveling now. We were surveyed in 2007, and our gratuity was half paid in Hatis. So also our pension has been paid in Hatis instead of Contis. Shall we be paid our balance of gratuity and pension in due course? Fair Polytechnic, Nasarawa. Kabiru. Second, for PAPD, please, how can those of us that don't have Android phone, what can we do? As for I'm alive. What you do is, if you don't have that Android phone, I'm sure you must have a colleague, a friend, or a nearby a neighbor that can assist you do that. Ptad promised that the 2019 verification exercise report will be released and implemented in March 2020. What is Ptad doing about it now that we are in 2022, June 30th? What happens to the unclaimed arrears of deceased pensioners, 33%, and the consequential adjustment? NIPOST. Please, we would like to know the latest about our outstanding 24 months and 33% covering the period of 2010 to 2012, respectively. This is for PAPD. Pensioners from my chapter, Association of NTA Pensioners, retired December 1995 and January 1996, are asking when Ptad is going to pay the back home money, which the payment schedule came out with in 2012 and later withdrawn. That's for Kabiru. From NITEL, non-payment of monthly pension to 63 members of pensioners since October 2018. Arrears, despite the assurance from the Minister of Finance in Ptad office in December 2021, in the presence of the Chairman, Senate Committee on Pensions. NITEL. Thank you. Ptad management, we thank Ptad's management effort for the job well done. The monthly pension being paid as when due is highly commended, and we pray for your success. Thank you so much. That's a commendation. Just steel rolling mill. It is noted that the steel sector belongs to public service, but it is observed that Ptad put us in civil service pension. Kabiru. Yeah, it is observed that 90% of the pensioners in the inland rolling mills have not received letters from Ptad as to why their pensions were recomputed. Why is it that the NOKs of the inland rolling mills were verified in 2016 and up till now they have not been paid? And lastly, how could Ptad expect an NOK to get analog statements of account of their people who died over 10, 15 years ago? So could Kabiru start responding to some of this before I now read others? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have noted down 4 questions here. One was in respect of ex-workers that were severed in 2007 and who claimed that their entitlement were computed on artists, which was a salary structure that was effective in 2006, but instead of counties, because they were effectively disengaged in 2007. And that because of that wrong salary structure, their pension had continued to be short paid from the time their agency put them on payroll up to the time that Ptad inherited and probably up till this time. Like we have explained during all of our previous stakeholder engagement, you would observe that the pension we are paying you up till now has remained the same amount that we got from your agency in 2015, with the exception of the consequential pension adjustment that we added to it. So that pension we are paying is what we call inherited monthly pension. What we are required to do by virtue of our mandate in line with the law is to compute your monthly pension, determine what it is supposed to be, and start paying you that. But before we can do that, we must be able to know who is Ojo, who is Aina, who is Peter, who is Jacob. And that was why we did verification. We only finished verification in November 2019. In 2020, the world was practically shut down by God exercising his grace over all of us. We came back in 2021 in trickles. And what we have started was to start determining the entitlement of fellow pensioners like you who had not received anything over the last 20 years. So we used practically the whole of 2021 to do that. Then after that, we moved to pensioners like you who retired from the same agency but had not been on the payroll before we took over in 2015. I'm talking about pensioners of church-funded parastatals like you. The next thing after that, that is still ongoing as I am talking. When we finish that, the next thing is for those of you that are on the payroll, receiving inherited monthly pension with only adjustment for consequential, we will now recompute your entitlement using your career details that we collected in verification in 2019. And for anybody whose letter of disengagement is written 2007, we are going to use the correct salary structure. We are not going to use the salary structure your agency has adopted. Every salary structure that belongs to all the 267 agencies under parastatals have been collected from the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission. Even though, just like my senior colleague had said, my auntie, Madam Neka, just like she has said, even though we inherited the mandate for paying pension, we have enough capacity, competency, and resources to determine what you ought to collect. We are not going to be binded by the figures that came from those agencies. But please, let me sound a note of warning. Are we together? Yes. Let me sound a note of warning. For anybody that has been shortchanged in the past, that is being paid what is wrong, when we correct, it will go up and we will all smile. But for anybody that has been collecting what is not right, what is not entitled to, it will go down. I am warning now, it will go down. You cannot eat your cake and still have it left inside the plate. Our obligation is to do the right thing. So that we are working, we are planning very hard to get into. But just give us a little bit more patience to clear all the backlog of your colleagues that are not yet on payroll. When we start that exercise, for every pensioner that we compute his entitlement and we start paying the correct figure, we will issue you a letter showing you how we arrive at your monthly pension. So that answers that question. Just exercise a bit more patience with us. Number two, somebody mentioned, from Commodity Board, they mentioned their complaint of outstanding balance of 24 months of 33% arrears. I remember that we wrote a letter of response to the lawyer representing Commodity Board on this matter. And I think that letter was written about 3 weeks ago, if I remember. You will recall, for Commodity Board, you recall that your pension was being managed by Nigeria Life and Pension Consultants as the underwriter. Am I right? Good. Now, when you came to us, when we inherited your monthly pension, we were given a different number of months as the outstanding months of your 33%. And that was what we paid. However, when you started complaining, we wrote to Nigerian Life and Pension Consultant to validate that claim. Because you cannot know Bomboy passing, Mama. They were the one that was managing your pension before we took over. So we wrote to NLPC, and it took a long time before NLPC responded to us. But late last year, we got a response letter from Nigerian Life and Pension Consultant confirming that there is still that outstanding balance. And we are working now to do a briefing note to the Executive Secretary so that we can pay that arrears. It should be coming to you very soon. There was a complaint from an NTA staff that said that NTA staff that retired in 1995 were not paid relocation allowance, and that there was a letter that came out and was later on withdrawn. Please, my colleague and the Permanent Secretary had indicated that it is very important for us to understand that every aspect of pension is controlled by law. And by that law, what ours as an agency is responsible for is stated very clearly. Ptad, as managers of defined benefit scheme pension, is responsible for two elements of pension entitlement: gratuity and pension. Anything outside us two is not within our powers. So when it comes to your relocation package, that should be settled by your employer, not Ptad. We will not get such funding, and if we attempt to do it, we will get sanctioned by both our internal and federal auditor and the STA control that is here. Okay, there was a question from NITEL in respect of accrued balance of their unfunded liability. I would like to reiterate the fact that was communicated by the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Executive Secretary during the ceremony to make payment of some elements of the unfunded liability in December 2021. But we state that the commitment of the government, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and Ptad and other stakeholders towards ensuring that all elements of arrears, unfunded liability due to defunct agencies and other pensioners are paid. But remember this thing, oh, if the dancer is dancing well, it is because the drummer is drawing well. Oh. Any mouth where we speak, if money no day, nothing happens. And we are all aware of the economic challenges that Nigeria and almost every country across the world is having as a consequences of the global pandemic. If without any pressure, please, one house. If without any pressure from you, the federal government, Ministry of Finance, and Ptad work together to pay some of the portion of that outstanding liability that we paid to you, without you knowing what we are working on, you should have the confidence that whatever remains, we will pay. Okay. I have breaking news. And because of that, I will yield the floor to the Executive Secretary, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, to give that breaking news.
Let me say that it is our desire for you to leave this place smiling and happy, because I'm sure you came to listen to some good news, if any, right? Now, concerning this unfunded liabilities of the defunct agencies remaining, like NITEL, MTEL, Delta Steel, and Nikon Insurance, I was with the Honorable Minister for Finance 2 days ago, and she's as anxious as we are concerning these areas. And she had told me that we should bring up something so that we can see how much of it we can settle. So I want you to go home hopeful that by the special grace of God, very soon something will happen.
Before the ES sits down, can ES... Okay. Okay, still on PAPD. Okay. Okay, so I can... Okay, Oga Sheleng. You will address some few harmonization, NOKs. We're employed to also talk to issues on harmonization too.
Okay, after that breaking good news, I expect to see happier faces now. Eh? Where are the smiles? I can't hear you. All right, it shall come to pass by the grace of God. Right, so to follow up on what the foundation that Mr. Kabiru laid, still rolling mills, whether you are on the parastatals or civil service, even if the police will not say, there is no discrepancy. You are Ptad pensioners and you are being treated equally. There is no disparity in the treatment being given to Ajakuta Steel or just Steel Rolling Mills or Oshogbo or Katsina. Mr. Cole, why are you looking away? Is it not true? The costume was anonymous, so all of you are my suspects here. So it's the same thing, to be honest with you. Everything that is being given to Steel Rolling Mill pensioners under the civil service pension is the same thing as the parastatals pension. The only reason why they are where they are, we all know. Those ones were privatized or liquidated prior to the Ajakuta came under BOT. That was why they came under parastatals. There is no disparity. Yeah, Steel Rolling Mills came under head of service. And that is why they were. But you are not, the salary structure and everything that is being applied to Steel Rolling Mills under CSPD and PAPD is the same. There is no preferential treatment given to anybody. Okay? All right. The other question was about the NOK. I know we've been going back and forth about the NOKs. And just like the ES laid out in her opening remarks, the scrutiny for NOKs is more rigorous because it's a one-off payment. You've had instances where one part of the family can come and claim, and then another part will come subsequently. So we actually put it through a very rigorous process. But we are always working to ensure that we try as much as possible to make it easier for eligible NOKs. Keep in mind that the cutoff date for this scheme was June 2007. So the process of validating that these people were indeed not paid, afterwards is difficult. But if a Ptad pensioner dies and then he's got claims that he hasn't collected, taking into consideration that you're entitled to up to 5 years of pension or for life. If someone dies before they collect 5 years equivalent of pension, the differential automatically becomes payable to their NOKs. We wouldn't have any problem with that one. Now, if their principals died while they were still serving, we needed to to really establish that these are the NOKs of record, and they were not paid at the time of the incident. We've been engaging with you. It's a slow process, but we are paying. We are paying NOKs. As a matter of fact, in CSPD, after the current phase of the computation, we have a considerable number of NOKs that we have cleared, and they will be paid very, very shortly. We prioritize the payment of NOKs, to be honest. Yeah, about the statement of accounts. It's one of the more difficult processes, I agree. But you will also agree with me that it is important to establish that this payment wasn't made. And if people come out to tell us the difficulties that they face, we try as much as possible to help in other areas to see that at least we are comfortable that the people that we are paying are the right people, and that they or indeed another party hadn't been paid before. So that, if we pay again, when auditors or EFCC come, they will come and say, Mr. Shelek, did you exercise proper due care and skill before paying these people who had been paid before? So you just have to bear with us. But again, you have to help us, with information. We need information to be able to pay these pensioners and these NOKs. And it's interactive sessions like this that will tell you about our informational demands, our requirements, and then we expect that when you go back, you now engage with us, in a way that we will get all this information so that we can move forward. On harmonization, the ES has spoken about it quite a few times. Our ultimate desire is to create a level of equivalency between all pensioners, whether you retired in 1970 or in 2007. However, it's a very long process. And Ogachukura, are you here? Okay, so he is working with us currently with the National Salaries, Wages and Incomes Commission towards addressing this problem. A committee has already been set in place, and that has been put in place, and we are working with them towards, achieving some level of equivalency. It might not be 100%, but okay, all right. The ES has another breaking news that might break me. So she wants me to again chair the technical committee of the harmonization. All right, so you worked with us when we did the consequential. I'm sure you were part of the entire process, and maybe a few other people. We are going to bring the same level of energy, the same level of commitment, and we will ensure that justice is done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, except failed payments. Consequential adjustment, people talked about failed payment. They've not received their consequences as a lot of failed payment, I guess. Maybe
all right,
you talk to that.
Maybe it's time for some brutal truth here. The consequential adjustment for all the 4 departments for the entire 25 months have now been fully settled. All 24 months for all the 4 operational departments have been fully settled. However, unfortunately, during the course of some of the payments, some payments failed. People were paid but did not receive it. Right? When my colleague demonstrated the payment process, you will just agree with me that immediately the finalization button is pressed, it is entirely out of our hands. The other arms of government take over. The Office of the Accountant General, which manages the Government Integrated Financial and Management Information System, And then eventually, of course, we keep no bank accounts. The payments go from the Consolidated Revenue Fund account of the Central Bank of Nigeria straight into your accounts domiciled with your banks. It doesn't go through Maitamao, straight into your account. Now, certain things can make payments fail, right? It could be that, it's a revolving payment cycle. And there are systems, even if you're making transfer on your phones, sometimes networks might not be available. And this revolving payment cycle, if by the time it comes to your bank and your account and that network is down, it will pass without being finalized. The problem we have is that the system does not automatically reverse this payment. Yeah, like the banks, you see that, okay, it's reversed. The GIFMIS does not automatically reverse it. So sometimes it takes days and weeks and even months. The payment will be showing pending. What is possible is that the payment might have been made and finalized and the pensioner has the money. On the contrary, it might be showing pending, but the payment had failed permanently. Looking at the system, Ptad will not know the actual status of that payment. If pensioners complain, we take it up, we follow through. If there is no complaint, the baseline assumption is that all payments had gone through. Until weeks later, when GIFMIS now do their manual reconciliation, they still reconcile manually. That is why it takes a long time. We are engaging them. We hope that they would sort whatever problem is with the reconciliation so that we can get real-time reports. If we pay you now and it doesn't go through because of the problem that I just mentioned, let's see it immediately on the system that the payment made to Mr. Koho has failed. Then we will immediately reapply. But we don't see the status of the payment and we don't see the funds being reversed into our accounts. There is no way of knowing. So it's a system failure, but it's one that is entirely beyond us and outside our control. But we're engaging our partners in the Office of the Accountant General to see that we overcome that problem. All right? But just so that we could have a local response team, the Executive Secretary has set up an interdepartmental failed payments committee that will meet every week to review payments made with the main objective of identifying those that have failed and then, reinitiating the payment process. Okay? So, but if there is anybody whose consequential adjustment for the entire 24 months has not been paid, please complain to us, and then we will take up your complaints. So?
And finally, Sheleng.
Yeah, there's complaints desk here on the other part of the hall, right? Okay. Please just make sure you see some of our colleagues at the back and then make your complaints official.
Can you just, in a nutshell, Sheleng, before you sit down, please? Some files are disqualified by PENCOM and Ptad cannot pay. Well, can you highlight where?
Disqualified?
Yeah, where we stop and where PENCOM,
Right, so everybody here knows the cardinal rules of enrollment into the pension scheme. The eligibility criteria have never changed, right? You have to have rendered a qualifying service of up to 10 years or 15 years, depending on when you retired, to be eligible for pension and gratuity. Now, because of the problem of the old pension administration, there were so many people that made it into the pension payroll system without being eligible. Now, these people are not legitimate pensioners. So at whatever point we find them, we will be very happy to drop them, because you know what it means? Dropping them means freeing up money so that you, the legitimate pensioners, can enjoy the full benefits and fruits of your labor. If we remove, very recently some of you were in the office after we made discoveries that over 14,000 pensioners were being overpaid because knowingly or unknowingly they were given higher grade levels and periods of service when they retired. And some were earning pensions of directors while they retired on grade level 3, believe me. Yes, over 14,000 people were affected with a net effect of over 78 million naira every month in civil service pension alone. And that does not include the disqualified pensioners of local government and primary school teachers. Because it's not that they are not eligible for pensions, they are not eligible for pension under Ptad. The circular clearly stated that. Those services they were rendered even before 1976, but to local authorities are not eligible for pension under the defined benefit scheme managed by Ptad. So you can imagine 78 million a month. In a year, we're talking close to 1 billion naira, right? If we are able to save that money, and then we've been paying this year in, year out since when we inherited the payroll. So you can imagine over 9 years how much that would have been. It would have been enough to make another consequential increment to a consequential increment. Yes, so when we free up resources like that, there will be more money available to us to go to government and say, you're supposed to be entitled to increment every 5 years, or when the government increases pension. So after 2010, there was no other increment until 2019, right? Why? Revenue challenges. And one of the leakages is the one right here before us in the pension system. If we say to government, increment is due, please increase. Government says there is no money to pay. And we're saying we might not be needing too much more money. Because you know what? From civil service alone, we'll be saving up to 1 billion naira a year by only this adjustment. By the time parastatal does its own, I can imagine that there will be much more money to be saved. So when we adjust the pensions of people who were cheating the system downwards, when we remove people who are not eligible, and believe me, some of them are earning pensions twice. Like the disqualified ones, they will be collecting from local governments and be collecting from us. So they are gaming the system. They are cheating you, the law-abiding pensioner. And because of that, we don't have the resources to implement the programs that can further, project or improve your welfare. So we're doing it for you, because if we save 78 million a month, it's not going to me, it's not going to the executive secretary or even to Ptad staff. It's going to be plowed back to programs that will enhance the welfare of pensioners. So please support us, and that was why when the discovery was made, the executive secretary said, call the union representatives, explain to them. And we projected a graphic demonstration of what actually happened. And I'm sure some of the attendees are in attendance here today, right? Are we not? Yeah, Mr. President. Yes, and you saw everything.
Thank you, Mr. Sheleng. We still have one or two more, just 1 minute, sorry. Okay. This one is, when will the ID cards be issued to all categories of pensioners under Ptad? Today in our country, ID card is now very important, especially the senior citizens of the Federation. I score Ptad 94%.
And then I'm sure we'll get the 6% after we finish.
And finally, on the same question, the hotel seized from the former director of pension funds, Dr. Shaibu, that was proposed to be pensioners' office under DBS. What happened to the proposal? Ptad should set up license office in Abuja for ease of pensioners.
All right, so I was going to speak to the ID card. I think it's important, and I think going forward, we will make, after the I'm Alive program has gone into full swing, we will make a recommendation to the executive secretary for ID cards of value. You don't want to keep plastics that don't make any sense. You have voter's card, you have driver's license, you have national ID cards, but you need ID cards of value. You know, ID cards that will entitle you to benefits. Yes. So this will now be in the next phase. But let us establish that the pensioners that we have on our database, you know, are indeed alive and well. So I'm sure once they are alive, confirmation goes into full steam, and we are comfortable that all the pensioners on our database are eligible and alive. Then this is a natural, it's going to be a natural precipitate of the comprehensive database. You know, we can speak to recoveries. These recoveries are not being made by Ptad, right? There are other government agencies that are handling these recoveries, and then, you know, they know. My understanding is all recoveries that are made are being put back into the treasury, so we can't even speak to that. Opening of liaison office in where?
Abuja.
In Abuja. Another office in Abuja. No, I think instead of, I understand, because where we are, right, no other person than the executive secretary was first to admit that the current place is not fit for purpose. So what we need is a bigger office with recreational facilities, with stations that can provide medical support, just like it is in the military pension board's office, and so on and so forth. So we need a bigger place, and then that is better situated than where we are right now. I don't think we need another office in Abuja at this time. Instead, we need office in Jos. Yeah? Those in favor say aye. Aye. So the ayes have it.
Thank you so much. Like I've said earlier on, the questions are much, and of course, we try to sieve them. And most of the questions are repeated. There are two announcements. One, please, in case you have other questions that are not attended to, we have our directors, we have our staff that are equal to tax. You can meet them as soon as we're done here. And then there are two appeals. One, Niger State chapter, please kindly supply us with presentation as handout, okay? Secondly, please, Ma, I want to make a personal appeal to you and to the federal government to kindly see to it that our wives and women receive a token part of our pension in the case we die before them. Like in the case of paternity leave. Please look into this. Well, I'm sure. So I don't know. The man is making a passionate appeal. So, and ladies and gentlemen, I mean, our esteemed pensioners, like I've said, in case we have other questions, please meet any Ptad staff, and then they will address you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdallah, and thank you for doing such a wonderful job as always. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Abdallah. And as he already said, even though we can't take all your questions now for want of time, be rest assured that your questions will be responded to because your names and telephone numbers are on it, so we'll respond appropriately. Again, Mr. Shelleng also mentioned that for those pensioners here in our midst who have complaints, we have a complaints resolution desk set in the next hall where you had your breakfast this morning. So you can please make your way there. If you've not already gone there already to submit your complaints, please do that and be sure that it will be looked into as well. And if you look at the back of your program, you'll find Ptad email address that you can send your complaints to. So if you don't have your documents here, Please do not panic. You can take your time, gather your documents, your supporting documents for the complaints that you have. You can send clearly scanned copies of these documents along with your complaints to Ptad complaint email, which is complaints@ptad.gov.ng. There are also telephone numbers there that you can easily reach us on. You will agree with me that it's been a very interesting session, but everything that has a beginning has an end. And so we're gradually winding down to the end of today's program, which has been very informative and educative as well. You will all agree. Please, let's take the vote of thanks now. And I'd like for you to give him a rousing welcome as he comes forward to give us a vote of thanks. And that is the Director, Corporate Services Department, Mr. Sani Mustafa.
The Executive Secretary, Ptad Management, I would like to stand on the existing protocol. My vote of thanks will start with the Executive Secretary that gave us the money to stage this stakeholder for North Central. I would like to thank her very much. The ES is a People's ES. She loves the pensioners. This year, we are very tight on the budget, but she said, no, we must go and meet the pensioners in their places. So we thank ES, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme. I would like to thank the Ptad Management and the Stakeholder Committee for putting a very wonderful stakeholder for North Central. I would like to thank the participants, the pension unions, the pensioners of the North Central Zone covering Plateau, Niger, Kwara, Benue, Nasarawa, and Kogi states. We thank you for participating and engaging with Ptad. It is very important that we try to get information from where the information is, from reliable sources. Many a times you will hear somebody say something, try to get in touch with Ptad. We have offices all over Nigeria, and we have ways that you can send and you get answered. Please, try to get information from Ptad and the pension unions. Don't take rumor. We thank you very much for gracing this occasion. We pray that you go back to all your homes safely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sani. And with the Executive Secretary's permission, Ma, thank you, Ma, I would like to formally call to an end today's program. It's been a wonderful time. May we all please be on our feet as we take the second stanza of the national anthem as our closing prayer. Thank you, Ma, yes, Ma, for the reminder. So before we take the national anthem, I'd like to say that lunch is served. So immediately after the national anthem, which is our closing prayer, please make your way to the hall on the right where you had your breakfast today. Thank you. So we'll do the national anthem after the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's been my pleasure.